get posted just yet, but we'll get rocking anyway. Okay, okay. Appreciate you guys taking time out your life to jump on this with me. I just woke up. I'm off of all right, okay. So here we are. I just woke up, guys, so give me give me a little grace. I've been I scrambled to get this thing done for you guys. Um, kind of last minute to be honest with you, as far as making some updates to it. So just hang tight and give me a little leeway as we let people get tapped in. Okay. We got some good folks on here. Okay, well, hopefully you find this a little bit educational. It's gonna be a high level um, introduction to Uganda for those who don't know anything about it. We have some experts in here on Africa, so forgive me if the information seems a little basic or high level, but um, I'm trying to appeal to um, all audiences with this information. So I'm just gonna run through the slides as quick as possible to try to keep it short. And feel free to drop any questions or comments in the chat box, and I'll address those um, as I go through the information. And also, at the end of um, the information that I give, I'm going to go through some content of my own, uh, pictures and maybe some video clips, just to kind of highlight my personal experience in addition to the general information. All right, so I guess we can go ahead and get going. I was trying to, okay, so it is going. Okay. All right, it's rocking on Facebook. So let me check YouTube, make sure that's going. All right. Yeah, this software is new. I've never used it. I literally just figured out how to do it yesterday, and so far so good. So you might hear the fans on my laptop um, going. I got a pretty decent laptop, but I'm running like three different you know processor heavy softwares at the same time. So that's why you may hear um, some good old fan noise. Okay, so it's rocking. I think. Let me see. I don't think YouTube is going, but this is cool. We got Facebook and YouTube. I mean, Facebook and Zoom is going good, so we're just gonna rock with that right now. All right. So if you're having any stream issues, I need you to figure those out yourself. I don't really have the capacity to multitask and answer in a relatively short amount of time, so that we can have a quick discussion at the end of it, and I can try to address any questions that you have. So, people on Facebook know me as Jay. Jay Riches is the Facebook name. It was actually given to me a long time ago by a friend in Florida, and it's really not about the money. It was more so about um, this person was just always joking with me that I knew so much, and I had this, this wealth of knowledge and experience from the journey in my life that I've taken. And so, when I got recruited by Jesse Jackson to become one of his executives back in 2010, and I wasn't even on social media. Um, and so I had to set up a social media platform in general for the Rainbow Push Coalition, and I had to set up the social media platforms for all the different entities for the Rainbow Push Coalition. And so I had to set up a Facebook at that time. So if you go back to my original Facebook posts, all of it start around the time where I was working with Reverend Jackson. That's for another forum and another discussion. But I was fresh out of I was what um, a year about a year off of federal um, papers, right? So um, I was in a situation where I was trying to put my life back together, and I was doing pretty good with it. And I was working with an organization in Chicago called IC Stars. Shout out to Sandy Castro, amazing woman. She created an organization in Chicago that basically takes disadvantaged individuals and plunges them, head first into the business and tech community in Chicago. And I'm talking about high level stuff, Microsoft executives, CIOs, Fortune 100 and 500 companies, and how to become technology and business professionals with a community based mission. And that organization, pretty much changed the trajectory of my life. And I'm forever grateful to her and that program. And she's helped countless individuals like myself. All of them are my Facebook friends and lifelong friends at this point. So anyway, I ended up being a tech executive for Reverend Jackson. I worked with him for about 3 years, side by side, literally sleeping on his couches. He and I on private jets, flying around the country, flying around the world. Um, I was actually the individual that informed him about the earthquake in Haiti when that happened, and then we flew out to Haiti on military planes when the earthquake first happened. And I was boots on the ground for the Trayvon situation, and social justice from 2010 up into 2013. I was boots on the ground right there, and so that really kind of enhanced this, built-in, people-centered dynamic that I've always had to my approach to life. And it made everything outside of my personal tribulations in life, very visceral in terms of the um, the raw struggle and pain that we go through in America. I can't tell you how many people I've worked with that horror stories of the things they've been. I can't even really describe to you some of the horrors that we go through in America. Like, I know we hear about a lot of the sensational stuff, but there are unnamed and unsung people who experience levels of trauma and and pain in America that you really can't even imagine. And so I had always had this desire to be in Africa ever since I was around 17 years old, and I started studying about real world history. And I realized that all of the things that we were fed was pretty much a false narrative about the way the world developed, who we are and were, and our place, in the grand scheme of society and history. So I've always been a very learned person, always studied heavy, always did great in school. I got sidetracked as a young man trying to dig my way out of poverty, but that never changed the core of who I am. And so I held true to all of my beliefs, throughout the struggles. And, you know, as I got my head back above water, I continued to pursue the things that were, you know, embedded in my soul and my spirit ever since I was a kid. And I've always had this dread and this feeling about America ever since I was a boy. There's the type of scenario or this scenario where it was just like this mass confusion. And when you're a young man and you into comics and you into things like that, you have these fanciful ideas. But one thing that always stuck to me was I always wanted a way to protect my immediate family from any fallout that was to happen in that country. And so I held true to this idea even as I became more educated about being in Africa. And so as I, continued through my life and, got my life on track and started to become upwardly mobile, and me and my wife, we started to, put ourselves in positions to be able to choose where we wanted to be through a lot of sacrifice and a lot of risky investments and choices. Opportunities just began was we were deciding, okay, where we moving to. We were in Virginia. We had spent some time in Russia. Spent about a year in Russia, almost a year, and when we came back to Virginia, we were trying to figure out, okay, where we're going next, and we were looking at Texas or Georgia. And at the time, I was doing e-commerce and tech work, and just independent entrepreneurial stuff. After I left, the job market in 2013. That was the last time I had an official job. And I went, full steam into real estate investing. I started with buying tax properties and wholesaling, way back then before it was popular. And shout out to Mark Witten. He taught me how to wholesale houses. Uh, and then, you see, so I was doing real estate, but I was really into e-commerce. And so I had started building websites back in like 2008. Some of the skills that helped me land the tech position with Reverend Jackson. But I was, doing pretty good with e-commerce. I was, had about 15, 16 websites going. I was wholesaling houses. I was getting tax properties. So, I was hustling. I was grinding. I was doing my entrepreneurial thing and trying not to, um, go back to anything negative. And so, when we were looking at Texas to move to, my wife started getting these opportunities because she comes from parents who worked for the government for deck type stuff, and so opportunity came for her to look into contracting overseas, and so one of the first places that came up was Zimbabwe, right? So it was kind of, she knew I had been talking about Africa for a long time. So when that opportunity came up, she was like, hey, what do you think about this? And I was like, let's go. Like, no question, let's go. And so we went, um, we saw opportunities and we were like, yeah, we can do this. And so we went back, got the kids, got everything in our life situated. At the time, yeah, so we went back, got our life situated, packed away pretty much our entire lives, did all of the research we needed to do, prepare for what we were getting ourselves into. And that was it. We moved to Zimbabwe. Just like didn't know anyone there, nothing like that. Just moved straight to Zimbabwe. 2016, mid 2016, like around the same time, actually, June-ish, 2016. And so that began the experience in Africa. And so um, I'm gonna do a whole independent session on Zimbabwe, so I won't dive too much into that detail right now. So, because it's a whole adventure on its own. Like there's the gold mine in Zimbabwe, there's the hemp farm in Zimbabwe, there's some exporting, and then I'll introduce you guys to Dr. R. So bear with me. But Guramontano is his name, Solomon Guramontano. He's you can look him up. He's well known, extremely popular. He's a philanthropist and a very, very successful businessman. He's one of the richest men in Zimbabwe. And he's like my brother and best friend. And so I ended up meeting this guy when I was in Zim. And we had no intentions on really staying in Africa long term. It was just going to be a year experience. Um, and so when I met this brother, and we were actually staying at one of his luxury villas that he owns in Harare, and a South Afrikaans lady named Meta, a white lady, was running it for him. And so she would always see me with my charts up. I'm a forex trader. That's my primary income stream. I'm a primary profession for like the last 6 years, 6.5 years. And so, actually 7 years now. Yeah. So anyway, long story short, she would see me in the office area or the reception area with my charts up all the time doing my analysis. She kept saying like, the doctor's gonna want to meet you. He's gonna want to meet you. He's into that type of thing. And lo and behold, I found out that he was like he's heavily invested into the stock market in Zim and other places. And so he and I met. I didn't even know who this guy was or how well off he was or anything like that. And he was like, "Yo," well, he didn't say it like that. Of course, he was like, "Hey, I really want you to teach me this. I'm looking to retire in a few years and I want to learn how to do this. I've been looking for somebody to teach me for about 3 years now. And so I'm like, cool, I'll teach you. And he kept trying to pay me to teach him, but I wouldn't take his money simply because I was doing it every day. He was an amazing guy. So I was like, yeah, I'll teach this guy, no problem. And so he markets for free. So each day I have a group of students in Zimbabwe. I have a group of students here in Uganda and some other countries as well. And I teach everybody who's African and lives on the continent for free. And so this guy was so thankful for what I was teaching him. He sent us on all expense paid safari to Victoria Falls on a private plane. He sent us to Wange Safari for a week. Um, was wrapping up in Zimbabwe. He was like, "Hey, look, I really want to continue this, and you're really sharp. I see what you're doing back in the States." He was like, "Let me teach you how to get rich in Africa." And so I'm like, cool. By this time, I knew who he was and what he was all about. And so he was like, move back to Africa and move here, move and stay here for a while, and I'll teach you how to get rich on the continent. And so that was it. So we ended up staying, and we stayed in Zimbabwe for about 3 years, doing a lot of. Still got business there. Still got people that are like family there. But the economic situation with the hyperinflation in Zimbabwe, which is what we're seeing glimpses of in America, that situation became too much. And so eventually we were looking at leaving Africa at that point and going to Southeast Asia when she talked to some friends that were already in Uganda. And they were like, hey, you guys should come check it out. And so we did. And so, we ended up loving it. And we decided that, let's go ahead and move to Uganda and see what Uganda has to offer for us. And so this is where we are. And so I'll go ahead and get rocking on that, on this slideshow. And then after I go through this information, I'll show you guys who's the first people I met in Uganda before I met anybody. Like outside of the airport employees, the first people that I meet in Uganda by happenstance um, have just like in Zimbabwe. It's incredible who I met. Like, most people don't have this type of experience, so I know my situation is unique. But when I tell you that I've been very blessed, and there's been so many hallmarks and anchors on why Africa was the right choice and remains the right choice, that I can't ignore it and I can't understate. Um, Here we are. All right, so let me put a disclaimer out there. Any and all this information in this presentation is based on my personal observations and experience. None of this information is to be taken as advice in any capacity. Make sure you seek appropriate counsel on all related matters. Any inaccuracies are non-intentional and are not intended to misrepresent the facts of any. All right. So I just want to make that very clear and transparent for the Ugandans who may see this presentation. Don't crucify. You know, I'm not all knowing and infallible, right? So hopefully this this is at least enlightening, right? So let me check the comments before I go beyond this at this point. Oh, it's not public on Facebook. Okay, let me go and see. Oh yeah, you're right. It's not. It's not. Okay. All right, done. It is now public on Facebook. Okay, cool. Let me see what we got. Do they have any? Nope, no motive. Hey, no, actually, brother Jesus, he's a good brother too. Loyal, good brother right there. Um, they don't have any Harley Davidson shops here, but I've seen people riding Harley Davidsons. I have a very funny story about the first time I saw somebody riding a Harley. It was like midnight in the middle of. Touch on that when we come back. When we get done with this, I mean. Yep, contracting overseas is a real thing. Solomon Gudamontano. Let me turn this off. Feedback. Okay. You had got missing and we're missing from Facebook. Yeah, I'm always missing from Facebook. I try not to be on social media too much because it's extremely depressing. So, but of course, I like to share and inspire people because I I've lost the uniqueness of my situation a little bit. Like it's kind of dulled on me how unique my situation is, but I'm always reminded by others that, like, hey, you need to share your journey. Like you need to share with people what's going on. And of course, I've always been like this. I've always been a, very open and transparent person. Like my life is really an open book. I don't hide anything. I'm not ashamed of who I am. Everything that I am has you all sitting on this presentation right now with me. So it must, go for something. Uh, but I try not to be on social media too much. So that's why I get on there, share some inspiration, share some of my journey, and then I get ghost for a little bit. Because I mean, in all honesty, how can you be on social media all the time and have so many, pots on a stove boiling like I do? I got businesses in Zimbabwe, I got businesses in the States, I got what 8 houses in the States. I got like 25 acres in the States. I got, online businesses. I have, a few businesses here in Uganda. It's impossible to be everything to everybody and be everywhere at once. So you'll see me on social media for spurts. I might do a, a week-long run and then go ghost for about 2 months, something like that, simply because my brain, I have a family, I have extremely needy pets, and people, here, once you start providing jobs for people and you're a foreigner and they look at you like you have money, like, you have a constant stream of people coming to you for help and support. And so, I'm a always busy type of guy. So this is, I never check my inbox. 1,000% in my Aquaman flow. Like, so yeah, shout out to you as well, Aqua Lady. But yeah, I'm just a human. I'm just a man. I'm not a business. I don't have, well, I just got a personal assistant this past week. Finally, but us Aquarius people, we tend to be very, uh, we tend to be loners. Even if we are social butterflies or whatever. But at the end of the day, I just can't be everything to everyone. So, sorry if I don't get back to your Facebook. Many alerts, too many messages, and it's just hard to dedicate time to address all of them. Like inboxing is a full-time job. Like it really is a full-time job when you get a lot of messages. So, anyway, let me go ahead and get through this presentation. Okay, so I want to just give a little bit, little backstory about Uganda, in case you don't know a lot about it. And if you see some errors, some grammatical errors, or some, literally operating off an hour and a half of sleep, trying to get this thing done for you guys, in the midst of my other responsibilities. Because remember, this is becoming a business for me. And I'm starting to partner with individuals. And I'm actually putting together an entity right now that facilitates educating people on Zimbabwe and Uganda and facilitating their transition, whether it be a visit, a tour, short term stay, medium term stay, long term stay, or cross continental residency dynamic that they're seeking. Education, um, to the reconnaissance, to their travel, establish home ownership here, land ownership here, and just developing an alternative, residence or second residence. My whole approach is don't put all your eggs in one basket. America is a burning house. Dark sides of the situation there. And so I've always, like I said earlier, wanted to have a backup plan or a way out when the roof catches on fire, and it already has. So, we could talk about politically, socially, economically, whatever the case is, America's a burning house, and it's just a matter of time. So, you know, I want others to be able to have those options as well. And also, I want to develop a community for myself. There's some selfish motivations behind this as well. One of the drawbacks about is that it's very lonely. Of course, you're here with a lot of people, but it's lonely in terms of having that kinship with others who understand you, who understand your background, who understand your worldview, and especially when the dynamic comes to like family and friends, like you miss that relationship, you miss that closeness, you miss being able to explain it. So I've had to do a lot of assimilating to African culture. So sometimes you'll hear me speak with the African accent, and that's just natural. You know, I know how to be a chameleon from my street life days to African culture, and I really have been just dying to have some type of, you know, camaraderie from my culture here in Africa. And that's one of the drawbacks of being over here. So I decided that I wanted to build a community here, my own community. Like I said, I've always been big on land ownership. My people are a mix of Geechee, Choctaw, Washita region. Um, so I guess I mentioned that to say that, you know, even though you know, I was born in Chicago and grew up in the Chicagoland region, I'm really, you know, first generation Northerner. My people moved up with the Great Migration for work, and you know, I'm really a Southern country boy at heart. So having land and being at peace and being connected to nature is really, really, absolutely Little Rock. Absolutely, we from the Earl, Arkansas, and Little Rock area. Um, so, you know, I'm really a Southern boy at heart. I love the South. I always loved going to the South when I was a kid. And so, even though, you know, I grew up an urbanite, just being close to nature has always been something very important to me. I've always felt this calling and this pulling. So, you know, as far as my purpose in life, I've always known since I was a little boy what my purpose was. And you know, it used to, you know, shock my mom, you know, how driven and determined wake me up for school. She never had to tell me to be responsible. You know, she was, you know, a working woman, so I really never had supervision. I was a latchkey kid, even amongst all of my siblings. And you know, I took care of myself, my little brothers, and I've always just been self-driven and self-motivated, and always knew what I want. So the person I am today, I've been this person since I was a boy. If the person you see on social media, I've been that person since I was a little boy, and that I don't really have a, a pursuit in life. Instead, I've always been pulled towards something in life. And that's kind of what drives me, is that like I can literally feel a physical tugging, pulling me towards what decisions I should be making in my life. And of course, I've strayed from the path like, you know, most of us have, but I've always self-corrected and kept myself on a certain trajectory. And that's what has landed me here. So, um, yeah, we got a Chicago legend on this a hip hop Chicago legend. Corinne Frederick is one of the founding members of Chicago hip hop history. I grew up listening to her, and it's just so unreal and amazing to me that we're friends now. And she's actually going to be coming here in Africa, in Uganda with me. So anyway, I just want to give you a shout out, sis. Um, anyway, a little bit about the history. I'm sure you guys have read the slide already, but Uganda actually does date back over 50,000 years in terms of the cultures of people. When it was, you know, ancient kingdoms, you know, we're dealing with the ancient Nubians here, right? And the ancient Bantus. So these people here, like their blood is so pure. Like you should see these people. It's amazing. These people are amazing. Like the depth of the melanin in their skin, um, it's just it's something to envy. Uh, it's just it's incredible. We also have another very we got this girl. I mean, she's famous for what she does. You guys you guys have to look up some of the people who are on in this chat, like on this Zoom with us. Like some of these people are amazing. Like she travels all over Africa, highlighting the beauty of the continent, and she does it with such flair. And I'm really in awe of what you do, and I can't wait to actually meet you. But um, anyway, the Ugandans were so-called foragers until the Bantu people migrated here and brought more developed skills. At the same time, the Bunyoro kingdom took over the northern portion of what is now Western Uganda. Now, Western Uganda is where I have my, ironically, 40 acres and not some mules, but 40 acres and some bulls. Um, and I'll show some pictures of my Ankoli cows towards the end of the presentation. Ankoli cows are basically the Ugandan version of Texan Longhorns, and they were given to me in addition to the land, were given to me by the former Attorney General, Minister of Labor, Misegwe Rukutana. I'll show you who this guy is as well. Um, anyway, the Bugandans dominated central Uganda, and that's an interesting story because the Bugandans are fiercely protective of the central region, which is where the capital city Kampala is located. And, they have a reputation here in Uganda of being real hard asses. And they feel like anybody on this land owes them a debt, and they treat you like that. So, if you ever come to Uganda, uh, watch out for the Bugandans. You're gonna meet some good ones, but they're real serious. Let me just put it that way. All right. Okay. Yeah, the Arab traders or slave traders, as what they really were, got here in the mid 1800s. They weren't just looking for the source of the Nile River; they were actually looking for the source of the Nile people, which were slaves. They were slave traders, and of course, they wanted the gold and the resources and everything else that were here. So, Islam is heavily, heavily ingrained into the culture here. A large portion of the people here are Muslim, but the majority are Christian based. And then you have some other religious religious groups here as well. The British got here shortly after. Well, actually, the Arabs were here long before the 1830s, to be honest with you. And then the British came in the mid 1800s as well. Then, of course, you had the Catholics and the Christians come here. Of course, you got Ethiopia to the northeast. So you have a heavy Christian influence there as well. Yeah. So Uganda, as it's called after the carving of Africa in the Berlin Conference, um, became officially and quasi-independent in the 1960s. Um, and that's a whole nother story that we can talk about later. But yeah, since it became independent, of course, you've heard about Idi Amin. Before that, there was a guy named Obote, and then there's been some other leaders, in the mix there. So, but what I can say is, Uganda has been upwardly mobile since the times of Obote and Idi Amin, and that continues with President Museveni. He's really brought a lot of stability to Uganda and a lot of prosperity to Uganda. So, hats off to him. A lot of people have their issues with his rule, but that's not my fight. But what I can say is what he's done with the country has allowed me and other foreigners to be here and to thrive here. And Uganda, if you don't know, I could bring it up on a map, but basically it's bordered by South Sudan, Kenya, Tanzania, and Rwanda, and then also the Congo. Um, so it's a landlocked country for the most part attached to it, which is Lake Victoria. And Uganda actually occupies, a majority of Lake Victoria in its border. It's a maritime border, and but truth be told, the um, the the corporate nation state boundaries that make up what Africa is today really did a huge injustice to the people because it took people who were all the same people, the same tribes or related tribes, and it carved them up and gave them different nationalities. For example, in the West, which is where I'm very connected to, here in Uganda, near the border of Rwanda and Congo, you have a lot of people who are basically Rwandans, right? Who are now Ugandans and who have been Ugandans for since Uganda has existed, but they're technically Rwandans. So, these people are all, intermingled and pretty much, relatives. Of course, you have a lot of tribes here, but Like on, on the Kenyan side, um, you have um, I forget the name of the tribe, but these are all the same. The Kenyans in Uganda, the Sudanese people, and the Ethiopian people, and so they're all the same people. And the Eritrean people is just these corporate nation state borders carved them up and segregated them and made them gave them different nationalities, so to speak. So anyway, yes, that's the tribe from Kenya. Exactly, exactly. Um, all right, so Uganda has. Oh, let me go back. Let me go back. Uganda has about 56 tribes and about nine indigenous communities that formally came to be recognized in the 1995 constitutional amendments of 2005. Interesting thing about the 1995 Constitution, Misegwe Rukutana, I'll just call him Rukutana. He's my business partner. His kids work for me. Like I said, he's the former Attorney General and Minister of Labor and also Minister of Finance of Uganda. He's one of the president's personal lawyers and friends. This is how I have the audience of all of the ministers here and the president himself. It's through Mr. Rukutana. But this guy helped write the Constitution here in Uganda in 1995. So he's like one of the top dogs in terms of law here in Uganda. He's my personal lawyer as well. So this is how I'm able to achieve some of these things. And I'll tell you how I came to meet this guy when I hopped off the plane. So it's a lot of ethnic groups here. Around 32 different languages are spoken, but mainly you hear Luganda, English, Bantu, Swahili, Nilotic, and Lumosaba. Like I said before, Christians make up a huge majority of the population. Muslims are behind that. And then you have some Sikhs, some Hindus, and the Asians are a growing community here as well. We all know about the stories of China, being here in Africa, and it's no different here in Uganda. But you got to remember, Asians are also Iranians, Pakistanis. They're here heavily as well. Afghanis, those are the Asian continent. That's all part of the Asian continent. So you have them heavily embedded here as well. Hindu community or the Indian community is heavily embedded here. um, they pretty much own a lot of the major big businesses, to be honest with you, and have done so for decades. um, what else? What else? Uganda's what they say, they're very free here. So Uganda is a very free society, meaning that they accept all peoples for the most part. Um, so you're free to practice your own religion here. They're very hospitable people. Um, it's just a beautiful place. The largest numbers of people here. Um, but the Bunyakolis, as they say, are the people that I'm closest to here. The tribe I'm close. Bagisu. There's some interesting stories about the Bagisu people here and the Kumams, but that's a conversation we'd have to have. The thing about Africa and Uganda in particular is that here in Uganda, about 70% of the population is under 35 years old. Think about that. Think about that. And about 40, almost 50% of the population here is under eight, is 18 and under. There's an extremely young population of people here who are ushering in a new way of a new perspective, a new way of seeing the world and seeing themselves. And they're coming up in this new era, this new age. And it's so there's a lot of challenges and clashes between the elder generation and the younger generations here, and you can see that in the political scheme and political landscape of Uganda, with cases like a newly minted politician or a spokesman for the people here in Uganda, for the young generations here in Uganda. They want to see change because we all know about the old guard, or we've heard about the old guard here in Africa, um, where you know they hold on tight to tradition, and they're very selfish, right? So this is the old guard are the people who are the gatekeepers here in Africa, who are running the countries. And with that gatekeeping and this newly found access to immense wealth and resources, there's a lot of corruption. And so there's a clash between the younger generations and the older generations. And the younger generations in general want to do away with that corruption culture for the most part, except for those who are benefiting from it. And so there's a clash between the old guard and the young guard, and the young frontier coming in. But that's the primary instability that you see in Uganda is more so political, and of course that derives from economic instability and economic depravity. But my personal experience is that of a warm, welcoming, extremely diverse culture that's rooted in centuries-old traditions that are doing their best to merge with the burgeoning future and open doors of the global and the open doors of the global culture of today. The people are extremely welcoming, and like I said, they use the term "we are very free here. We are very free in Uganda. Very, very free." They're very soft-spoken people, and me being a loud American, obnoxious, it's such a funny dynamic that we have, and experiences that we have, with me trying to get them to open up and be more boisterous, and them trying to teach me how to be more humble, more free, not so outspoken. Relax. It's okay, sir. Like, right? So Kimberly knows. She knows about Africa. She's spent a lot of time over here and has a lot of roots here as well. But she can tell you, sir, no, it's okay. We are very free. They knock on your door like I'm talking about middle of the day, noise going on everywhere. You hear somebody rapping at the door very lightly, tapping, and you think you're hearing things. But it's somebody who's been at your door trying to knock for the last 10 minutes, but they're literally tapping like they don't want to wake you up. And they won't yell. You have to tell them, speak up. You have to say, I can't hear you. Can you say that again? So, anyway, it's just really funny the differences in temperament that we have. Versus the people here in Eastern Africa. Even in Zimbabwe, it was the same thing. They were a little more, loud or whatever, but still the very humble, respectful approach to everything. All right, so yeah, they openly welcome you and invite you into their life, into their culture. But they're extremely hungry for outside influence, outside knowledge, um, outside understanding, because Uganda was one of the countries or one of the areas, this area was one of the areas that really wasn't colonized forcefully. Um, the colonizers really couldn't penetrate the interior of the central region, of what Kampala is now, and they really couldn't get through the so-called impenetrable forest. That's you can look up this place, the impenetrable forest. Um, the way the way they ended up taking over or colonizing the Uganda area is they rule they what the way the Ugandans describe it is they rule indirectly or they rule you know yeah, they rule indirectly. And so what they did was, because they couldn't forcefully defeat the people here, thankfully, due to the landscape and ecology and also the fierceness of the people. um, so what they did was they manipulated the rulers, the kabakas, which is uh, the term for king in the Bugandan culture. So they manipulated the kabakas with resources and just with trinkets, right? The same thing they did with the indigenous peoples of America, who were just welcoming to the people. um, they manipulated them with trinkets of clothing and things produced in their home countries in Europe and Asia and the Middle East, and they used the kabakas and the rulers and the chiefs of this area in East Africa. And once how those people operate, once they get in, they corrupt from within. And so that's what they did. So that's how they ended up conquering this area. They couldn't conquer it by force. And so the people here still have their traditions. They still are anchored in, their tribal and cultural and Africans. They know who they are. They know what their land is. They know who their people were. They have a connection to their history. They have an identity, whereas ours was stripped away from us, burned to the ground, destroyed, and we were forbidden from even having knowledge of self. So there's a lot of differences in how we see the world and how we operate. And it's been a gift and a curse for us in America. You know, more curse than gift, but nevertheless, here in Uganda, um, you know, it's just so it just makes you so envious to see people have such deep tradition and such deep connection to each other and to who they are. It gives them a different sense of pride, you know. So it's just really it's really an awesome and amazing thing. Um, but anyway, they welcome you into it, um, and they love to see you experience it. Um, yeah. So I've been made family by a few groups of people here. But let's be here in Uganda. Wow. I'm glad I could shed a little light, brother. And remember, I'm just an individual person. I'm not a scholar. I'm not a historian. So like I said in my disclaimer, don't crucify me for any inaccuracies, okay? Like I don't do this for a living. This is just me. I decided to like, you know what, let me shed some light about my experience here and what I know about what it takes to get over here and to be here. So oh, you were just there in January. That's dope. Yeah, exactly. You know what I'm talking about. And one thing about Africa, like no, even with me trying to give you insight, like you will never understand air here until you feel the energy coming from the ground and from the people. It's a different thing. Don't do it justice. Like this background image you see, like this is from the roof of the roof of my previous home here. Um, so I used to wake up every morning just to watch the sunrise because East Africa has the most amazing sunrises I've ever seen. Zimbabwe had the most amazing sunsets I've ever seen. Um, so nobody can really tell you what it's like to be here, and for you to really understand it, you have to feel it. You have to experience it. It will consume you, and it is something that will it makes you feel some very strange experiences. It really makes you feel honest with you guys, you can't really get the full effect in a few days coming here to sightsee and tour and experience the safari. You can get a taste of it, but you have to be here for a few weeks or a couple months. And there's a change that happens in you, and I really can't explain it different ways, and you become just drawn to that and connected to that and almost addicted to it. The weather here in Uganda is heavenly. Heavenly. I mean, it ranges from on the cold side in the mountains, from like 50 degrees, up near the in the mountainous area on a chilly evening, or a chilly day. It's very temperate. It's very temperate. Uganda is one of the few countries gets about 12 hours of sunlight almost every day, because it's sitting directly on the equator. Um, so the temperature is always perfect, or the weather is. I would say the weather is about 75 to 80% perfection. Like it's just absolutely incredible. If you need colder, colder temperature, you can go to the east and the west where it's a little more mountainous, so you get some chill. There's mountains here that are snow capped. Renzori Mountain is where fresh, beautiful temperature here. Um, Let me gonna encompass. I'm not gonna talk about booking flights. That's from my tour company. That's from my tour company. You can. It's called eBombay. You remember the phrase from Black Panther? Um, we just launched a tour company called eBombay, and so I'll be releasing the website and the tour packages in the coming weeks, and you can book some travel with us, and it basically encompasses different types of tourism, including business tourism, which is really the Trojan horse and my primary purpose for doing tourism in the first place. Um, but as far as flights and everything like that, you guys can do research. I don't know where you're coming from. I can't, give you guys particulars about flights are here, but coming from Chicago, it's typically a 16 to 26 hour journey, depending on how many stops and layovers are in the process. Um, you know, um, I've caught flights as cheap as $500 one way, and as high as $1,800 one way, but that was business class. So you can do your own research on flight costs and everything to get here. But I mean, the way I look at it is people fly out to other destinations like it's nobody's business in Mexico and the Caribbean. So you can fly your little tail over here to Africa as well. Just a plane ride away, it's just a ticket away. That's what I've always looked at the world, without borders my entire life. So I don't really get the whole "oh that's far" thing. Like I don't get that shit. Like it doesn't compute with me. It's like, okay, it's far, but it's really just a trip away, right? Like you can make the trip. So anyway, all right, so yeah, I'm gonna touch about what it takes to enter Uganda. That's really gonna be my primary focus through this travel section. So this is actually really the biggest section of the presentation. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. She pays $759 round trip to Kenya. That's what I'm talking about, guys. Like, I'm partnered with some people in the States, and if you're savvy with travel and bookings, holla at me. Like, let's do this joint venture thing together because I need you guys' expertise and help to help facilitate as many people coming here as possible. And I'll roll out the red carpet for you. So just like that. Like it's you can get here. I mean, people go to Vegas and it costs them more than that to go to Vegas round trip. Like to go do what? I don't get it. And look at that, another $700 round trip in Kenya last August. But tickets may not be that cheap right now. But if you book far enough in advance and you're really savvy, I hope you can get some deals. All right. But anyway, that'll be the focus of some other discussions later. All right. So let's talk about travel requirements. Whoa, tickets are 3K plus. That's crazy because I got to fly out in about a week. I'm coming to the States in about a week. Yes, there are Airbnbs here in Uganda. I'm going to touch on that later on. 200 to 400 round trip. That's crazy. I got you. I got you, sis. Don't even worry about it. Um, so in general, most travelers arriving by air will need to have the following to gain access to Uganda. You're going to need a visa, which is available online and obtained upon arrival at Entebbe Airport, which is the the primary airport here in Uganda. You must have a negative COVID test or proof of being fully vaccinated, and most Uganda requires people from most destinations to have a yellow fever vaccine. That's really it as far as primary requirements. Now let's talk about the different visas and the fees associated. You can get a single entry visa for $50 US, multi-entry visas that go from 6 to 12 months are $100, and then they give you up to a 36-month multi-entry visa for $200. Um, so if you get that visa, even if you're staying here on a multi-entry for up to 3 years, that does not qualify you to work and get a job here, which the job economy is almost non-existent, but it doesn't give you authority to be gainfully employed here in Uganda. You have to get a work permit for that. We're going to talk about that. Um, Hey, it is what it is. It's such is the world. So on a single entry visa, you know, there's three primary types. There's tourism, business, and academic. You obviously got to have your passports. They ideally want it to be valid for at least 6 months after your planned arrival time here in Uganda. Um, they say for you to have a tour plan, but you don't need a tour plan. Um, they don't even need your booking information or your travel itinerary. None of that stuff is a requirement. But of course, this is what's listed on the immigration website. So I'm just conveying that information. Um, you do need to have two passport photos. Um, you need to have your vaccination certificate, your little yellow book for your yellow fever vaccination. And you don't necessarily have to have your hotel booking and reservation information on hand. They tell you as a formality, but they don't check it. For business meetings and conferences and things like that, you have to have everything that a tourist needs and also a letter of invitation with clear address information and stating your nature of business in Uganda. And you need to have the immigration status of your host documented. As for academic single entry, everything above, also a letter of invitation from the school, passport photos, of course, and an admission letter from the institution that you're going to be studying at. Multi entry visas, pretty much the same thing. Um, but you do have to have, in addition to the basics, a valid police clearance letter from Interpol or your home country, um, and a recommendation letter from one or two individuals here in Uganda. Now, as far as that police clearance and Interpol letter, that shit terrified me, right? That terrified me. I got a federal background. And so I'm like, I couldn't get that expunged. So I'm like, damn. So I avoided, I avoided dealing with Interpol for like almost a year, almost my entire first year of being here in Uganda. Like I was trying to fly super under the radar until I learned and realized that the Interpol letter doesn't come from Interpol per se. It comes from an Interpol post here in Uganda. And the way they phrase things and word things is that they want a clearance letter from your home country or the Interpol letter from here. And so I'm like, damn, if I get a clearance, if I get a background check and a background report from the States, I mean, they gonna kick me out the country. And so I was afraid. But then as I had to go through the process as I was establishing businesses here, I had to go ahead and get the Interpol process going. And I'm like, oh, wait a minute. All they do is go to the police station here, run your name, and if you haven't had any criminal history here in Uganda, you get a free and clear Interpol letter. So, just want to put that out there because, yeah, you're gonna have to have that doing business here in Uganda, but it's not as ominous as it sounds. All right, you can see the fees here: six to 12 months, $100; 24 months to 36 months is $200. Okay. Student pass, granted to foreign nationals above the age of 4 enrolled in a learning institution here in Uganda. This can be for 3 months, 6 months, and 12 months at a time before renewal is required. You have to have a valid student ID card from the institution. Of course, your passport photos, support letter from the school, admission letter, paperwork from the school, proof that you paid your school fees, um, current immigration status, whether you're operating, on a visa or previous pass, and where the child is below 18 years old, immigration status and identification of the parent and or slash guardian. Of course, you pay at the airport when you pass through immigration. All right, as far as dependents, granted to children 18 or younger, um, spouses and other relatives of a foreign resident with proof of legal stay, such as some type of student visa, work permit, certificate of residence in Uganda. For spouses, you must have a marriage certificate, copy of the principal person's passport, immigration status of the principal, passport photo, of course, passport, of course, and immigration status of the dependent here in Uganda that you're bringing along with you. Children, pretty much the same thing. Just add a birth certificate, a cover letter, or note from the principal who's bringing them in, and that's pretty much it on that. Dependent pass continue. You can also have other relatives and members of your household come here as well. Pretty much the same thing as the other dependent pass information. Proof of relationship where applicable, but that's pretty much it. You can see the fees. For a child, it's 200 bucks. Spouse, 350. Other relatives, it's a cool grand. All right. As far as work permits, this is where I want to provide some insight and information. I have a few companies here established and registered and operating, and we're finishing up the process right now of being able to grant work permits. So if you want to come here and you want to actually work and you want to reside here, that's a conversation we can have. I can, put you into the businesses that I have going, and we can even partner on some other business ventures as well. But you would technically be classified as an employee of one of my companies. And thanks to the former Attorney General, it was a easy, painless process for me to get my companies qualified to hire people locally and abroad. So that's a really unique dynamic and a really unique circumstance that I have. Um, I don't know anybody else that has come here who is granting work visas. Um, and I'm looking to establish an NGO here so that I can also do volunteer visas. Okay. Um, but basically, you have to fill out work permit forms, have your photos and passport. Of course, you need a cover letter from the company, or a land title if you're going to be working in agriculture. Um, you need a license from the investment authority in particular cases, not coming as a general employee. You need a letter from the Ministry of Agriculture if you're, working in agricultural fields. You need recommendation letters from the LC's or RDC's office. Those are basically like local councilmen where you're going to be staying at. So wherever you're going to be staying and working at, you need letters from those people, and they're easy to get. My company and myself can get those very easily. Um, you need a work plan or a feasibility study, depending on what type of work you're coming here to do. You need a security bond, and of course, you need that Interpol letter. Um, so this is basically for agriculture, right? And so that's my primary focus here in Uganda because it's an agricultural powerhouse. Agribusiness is, the primary industry here that employs people besides the government. And when I talk to you guys about some of the numbers in terms of getting into the agribusiness industry here and exporting internationally, you won't believe it. So that's a Class B work permit for investment or employment in the agricultural sector. As far as a Class D business and trade work permit, very similar things required. In addition, you'd need the articles of incorporation, certificate of incorporation, income tax clearance, a trading license, and Banking of Uganda certificate showing that you have 100,000 US dollars on the books, as far as that's what you're going to be investing into your venture here in Uganda. So if you're coming here as a business, the investment license is basically 100,000 US dollars, and that can be in the form of equipment, resources, or liquid capital, even credit. You just have to have a 100,000 worth of value on the books and be able to prove it in addition to the registration details of your company here, in order for you to come here as a business and engage in trade. But there's always one thing I can tell you guys about Africa, and anybody who spent time here can tell you: there's the formal way, and then there's the informal way, and then there's the other informal ways to get things done here in Africa. So there's always a way to get things done. Anything you want to is I'm starting to speak like the locals now because this is how they talk to you. Sir, if you want to do it, We can do it. It's okay. Then we will find a way, sir. It's no problem, sir. This is how exactly, no problem, no problem. This is you can get things done here. Trust me. So there's always a way around it, and I'm going to touch on that when we get into the business structuring and the business entity portion of the slides. All right, so if you're coming in under a G1 work permit, that's for volunteers, NGO workers, and missionaries. Pretty much the same thing, except you need a copy of the NGO certificate, criminal record report from the home country, or Interpol letter from the whole home country. And I've had a volunteer work permit here, so and I got a background, right? So that just goes to show you how easy it is to get around things, right? Cover letter, an appointment letter is basically your job offer. So if you hear somebody mention the phrase appointment letter, that means that a company or entity has officially offered you a job. And in doing so, they give you a letter detailing the job offer, and you have to present that in certain circumstances. And a proof of your qualifications, which that's not really a big thing either. Um, Now, general employees that don't have a specific um, business initiative that they're coming here for, or volunteer initiative that they're coming here for, just coming as a general employee, you fill out an EP form, which is basically an employment form. Uh, Bring proof of your academic qualifications, your letter of good conduct, which is basically background check or Interpol letter, your appointment letter, a cover letter from the company you're going to be working with. Uh, Also, my company will have to provide proof of failure to employ a Ugandan in that particular position because, of course, they want to bolster the job economy here. So they want you to offer jobs to Ugandans first. So the way you do that is you set up a particular job with particular functions that require the employee you want to bring over here to fill that role. Okay, so in case anybody on this presentation becomes one of those individuals that want to come over here and work with me, or work with us, I should say, um, I would tailor make a position particularly for you that you would come over here and fill. Okay. um, of course, they want you to provide training opportunities for Ugandans to pick up those skills and everything like that. So, skill development and skill training is a huge thing that can be done here. So, if you're a person who has a skill set that is teachable and that is employable, you can make a lot of money over here establishing, you know, uh, training centers and training facilities for that. Like one of the ventures that I have in my back pocket is doing a virtual call center because these major multinational corporations, they farm out all of their customer service to developing countries and also online. So I have a vision, and I actually was discussing this with another brother from Chicago named Mason. I have a vision to start a virtual call center, so to speak, or customer support center, and also set people up to work from home here. And these companies, the amount that they're paying uh, for those types of contracts far exceeds the cost of living for the average individual here. So you can employ somebody, you know, um, and give them at double and triple the monthly salary that they would typically earn here in Uganda and still make money off of the process. So um, it's definitely something for for some people to consider. But anyway, you need to have an investment letter. Uh, well, technically, that's a typo. You don't need an investment letter for the employee G2 permit. But you do need copies of the articles and memorandums of the company that you're going to be working with, copy of the trading license, copy of the security bond, copy of the company's bank statement, and certificate of incorporation. All of that will be provided by the company. So as long as you have copies of it in your paperwork and the company submits these official versions of the documents, everything is good to go. They just want you to have copies on your person and in your documentation for safety and redundancy reasons. All right, so let's talk about housing real quick. Um, I know everybody's interested in that portion. This is actually the house I'm sitting in right now. It's in a gated community, um, extremely secure, very beautiful home, 6 bedroom with what they call boys' quarters. So if you hear somebody mention the phrase boys' quarters about Uganda, what they're talking about is a guest wing of the house or a coach house, as we call it in the States, a guest house out back. And so they call it boys' quarters because this is traditionally where the boys would want to be outside of the main house, or the boys would get sent outside of the main house to keep the ruckus down here, traditionally in Uganda. So they call it the extra, attached or detached uh, quarters on the property. They call them boys' quarters. We would call it a coach house, or we would call it a maid's quarters. So this place has an attached maid's quarters, in addition to the 6 bedrooms. One of the bedrooms I've turned into an office where I'm sitting now. It comes with lawn serve. I mean, yard maintenance and everything like that. They call yards in Uganda gardens because you got to remember, it was colonized, so pretty much the British culture was transplanted on top of Uganda, and so they use a lot of British and you know UK based phrases for everything. Um, but yeah, this house is a beautiful place. Now, one thing about here in Uganda, like it's not like in the States. You're not gonna put down a deposit and then 1 month's rent. You're gonna pay at least 3 months rent, and most times they want to get 6 months to a year worth of rent up front. And I you like, damn, I might as well buy a house. Like that's a down payment on a house if I'm paying a year or 6 months worth of rent up front. Yeah, maybe so, but they're not doing credit checks or anything like that. Like that doesn't really exist here, right? So it's really just based off your ability to pay. And all prices are negotiable for everything here except for some of the formal retail, you know, institutions or businesses here. Almost everything is negotiable. Everything is negotiable, right? So, um, this place was relatively cheap. Wasn't expensive at all. You can get a place like this for as cheap as like 1,200 bucks a month. It's about, I would say, about 3,400 square feet, 3,500 square feet roughly. Um, yeah, you got private security. Um, Utility expenses are relatively cheap here in Uganda. Energy is relatively cheap. It's a pay as you go system. So you buy your credits through your mobile phone and you input a token number into your utility box in your house. Um, Electricity is a primary form of power here. You do have, as far as there's no heating gas here. So it's pretty much no heating almost at all. And if you do have any heating, it's pretty much electric. You don't really need heating here. So the only thing you would need is air conditioning. And of course, that's electric based. Water is relatively cheap here. Um, it's the same thing. It's a pay as you go type of situation. Um, some places you do get a bill. As far as internet is pretty stable here, depending on which company you go with. The cell phone providers provide home hotspots that are very robust and very strong. I actually have one at my mini mart, and I have one at home. But I also have a fiber connection. Fiber is growing here in Uganda. Actually, the owners of this property where I'm at, they own a telecom company, and they provide fiber internet as well. So, high speed fiber is what I'm on right now. It's very stable. You can get up to, I think, like 100 megabits per second, which suffices for what you're trying to do. We stream, we game, we do all of that with the internet. We download, so speeds are pretty decent. It's nothing like the lightning speed of Comcast and all of those companies in the States, but it's still pretty fucking decent here. So internet is really not a problem in the central region, or the central area of Kampala. When you get out to the outskirts, like the suburbs and the countryside, then your internet may not be as stable and strong as it is here in Central because fiber has not made it to most of the suburbs and the countryside just yet. Yes, solar is huge here. Solar is huge here. But let me get into some details about the housing. Just very high level details. I can't cover all of the specifics in this presentation, it would be too long. But I'll talk about some high level details. But solar is huge here. Solar is almost a requirement as a backup source of power because you do have intermittent power outages here. Storms cause temporary blackouts as well. So having a backup generator or backup inverter or backup solar inverter is extremely important. They're inexpensive for most needs that you would have at home. So you can definitely, have that installed. And most places that attract foreigners typically have that installed. Okay, so backup power is a must. We got to remember it's still a developing country. Now, housing is modern and diverse. The image that you see on the slide is actually a picture from the apartment or the condo that we had in an area called Bugalobi in Kampala. It's one of the more affluent um, foreigner. Uh, it attracts a lot of foreigners to that particular area because it's very safe and they have a lot of nice developments in Bugalobi. Um, so this was a very, very nice place. I actually got some videos that show the inside of it. Granite work all throughout the house, 20-foot ceilings. Um, just a beautiful place, beautiful place. So that place was called Marcello Apartments. You can look it up on the internet if you want. But basically, housing is modern here. Um, for the most part, you do have a lot of older developments that were built in, the late 80s, 90s, early 2000s. But you do have a lot of new developments. That's one thing about Uganda. It's in a constant state of development and construction. Like I can walk out. Actually, I could slide open my window, and if you look through the trees, you can see some guys that just bought a third of an acre, and they're throwing up like a five-story apartment building, and like it's been going super fast. Like they threw it up extremely fast. So anyway, a lot of the newer developments are very modern, very chic, very contemporary, very stylish. And one thing about here in Uganda, the houses, you don't really have a lot of carpeted houses because it gets a little dusty here sometimes. So most of the houses, the floors are like tile, some type of stone or tile work. Not that cheap linoleum shit that we have in the States, but actual stone-based tiles from the local quarries or imported from other countries. Um, the houses are primarily made of brick and stone or concrete. You don't have a lot of wooden frame houses, but the roofs of the houses they are wooden, most of them. Um, so there's that. So it's a different feel to the inside of the houses. They feel very strong, very secure. Um, whereas in the States, it's more of this transient feeling because of the gypsum board or what we call drywall construction and the wood construction. Yes, I'll talk about the land acquisition and building process. As far as land ownership, I'll touch on that as well. Um, but basically, in general, the capital city is more expensive. It's very cosmopolitan, very metropolitan. There's a housing deficit in Uganda, meaning that there's more people than there are houses. So you'll see a lot of shanty towns, what they call slums. You'll see a lot of high rental prices in the city of Kampala. Depends on location, and it depends on who you are. But you'll see a lot of rental prices that'll make you think that you're renting somewhere in Chicago, uh, possibly New York. You know, because these people are becoming aware of the international housing markets, and the demand for housing here is so competitive inside of central Kampala, the city, that they can get away with charging exuberant rents. However, there's always the other side of the coin, and you can get some amazing places here, very cheap in central Kampala. And I'll share some of those places during my housing search on Facebook, and I'll see if I can pull up some videos at the end for the people who stay on towards the end. On the outskirts, aka the suburbs, prices are a third, a half, or two-thirds cheaper than they are in central Kampala. So literally, it's so crazy here. In central Kampala, you can be looking at a place that they want $3,000 a month for rent, and then you can go um, 2 blocks over. Sorry, mosquito is trying to get me. Um, they're pesky here. They're not horrible, but they are pesky here. Um, but yeah, you can be looking at one place that's 3,000 US dollars and literally drive around a corner and find the same type of place for 800 US dollars. It just really depends on the owner. It depends on their need for income, rental income. It depends on your negotiation skills. So everything is a negotiation here, and they always try to get the most that they can out the gate. Out the gate. I'm not too familiar with housing prices in Jinja, but I've spoken about it to a few people, and basically they were telling me that you can expect to pay about two-thirds cheaper in Jinja as opposed to in Kampala. And Jinja's beautiful. That's the source of the Nile River as well. Um, anyway, countryside is much cheaper. For example, the house that I'm in right now, you're not going to find a lot of them in the countryside, but if you do find one in the countryside, you can expect to pay around 800 bucks a month for the type of house that I'm in right now, in the countryside. Um, and I'll talk about construction versus renting and buying in a couple slides. Um, I think the wife is up. Yeah, she is. All right. So, for example, in the city, you can get a four-bedroom, 2,500 to 4,000 square feet with a maid's house on about a quarter to 2 acres, anywhere from 500 to $3,000 a month. It really varies a lot, like I spoke about. Depends on the area, the quality, the amenities, and your negotiation skills. On the outskirts, like I said, you can expect to pay about six, 700, up to 1,500 bucks um, for the same type of house, and in the countryside, anywhere from 500 to 1,500 for the same type of house. Now, as far as home ownership, hold on one second, guys. Sorry, guys. Had to check something. All right. So anyway, building is better. As far as what I know about most countries in Africa, when it comes to owning property or actual structures, building is better. You're gonna pay about 50% to 60% cheaper of uh, by constructing a house as opposed to buying an already constructed property. This is why so many people here in Uganda, in particular, are multimillionaires from real estate because it's so cheap to build. Labor costs are so minuscule. Some of these guys, these laborers, I'm talking about these guys, man, like it's crazy. These brothers here, they work 12, 16-hour days for like 13,000, 15,000, 20,000 Ugandan shillings a day. We're talking about less than $10 a day. These guys are carrying 40, 50-pound bags of cement up 6, 7 flights, uh, mountains of bricks all day long. and they're making like, 10 bucks a day, if that, right? Actually, let me just tell you exactly what they're making. Um, Here it is, clear. At most, they making like $5 a day, $6 a day, and these guys are building the country, right? I don't think it's fair, but you can't rock the boat here. One thing I can tell you about employing people here, like my goal was to come here and start paying people close to American wages. I got my coattail pulled and was softly reminded not to venture down that road because it would disrupt um, the way of doing business here in Uganda, even on a small scale. They don't even want it to occur. I was offering to pay people, you know, $7, $8 an hour, which is, you know, hourly, not daily, hourly. I was trying to pay people hourly. And I was trying to offer, $30,000 a year salaries to some of my employees as the company is growing. And, I was just kindly reminded that that wouldn't be too welcome of a gesture here because you would be disrupting the nature of the economy. So, I mean, I don't like it, but I can't do anything about it. But these people here are being used in so many different ways, and it's by their own. It's but it's based upon greed. Everybody wants to get rich. Everybody wants to be what they see in the outside world, outside of Africa. They want to be rich, fabulous, famous, and powerful. All of them want that, and so you have that inherent that I won't say inherent greed, but you have that greed, and it's very tribal here. So it's very competitive amongst the tribes, right? And so and they look out for their own. So like the Westerners are the ones at the seat of power in the presidency position here right now. And so they get a lot of favoritism in government and in business, where government has influence over business. But yeah, building is cheaper. Like I said, 50% to two-thirds cheaper. Um, you on average you're paying about 2010 U.S. housing prices. So for example, a house like the one I'm in right now, about 34, 3,500 square feet, sitting on about, two-thirds of an acre. You can expect to pay about, like already built, post construction, you can expect to pay about 300,000 for a property like this, whereas it may only cost you 150,000 to build this house. It may only cost you 200,000 to build this house, something like that. Like you may pay like 400,000 for the house, to be honest with you, but it would only cost you half of that to build this actual place from the ground up. And this is with luxury finishings, right? So not just basic finishings, luxury finishings. But basically, like I said on the slide, you can build a $500,000 home for about 200 to 50, depending on quality. A bedroom with basic quality finishings can be built new for 35,000 to 90 up to 100,000. Brand new. Um, you know, Great finishes, just basic quality. Depends on, the actual square footage. Depends on the size of your plot and the location that you're going to build it in. And I've shared some of these constructions on my Facebook and in my photos album and my videos album. Um, Now, as far as furnishing a property, furnishing your home here, local furniture is cheap. We get all of our furniture custom made. It employs the local people here, the carpenters, and at the same time, it lets us, design it how we want to do it. They're very skilled artisans and carpenters and tradesmen here. Retail furniture here is expensive because most of it is imported. One of the things that I think is a travesty is that the cheap ass Chinese furniture that they send here is ungodly expensive. Ungodly expensive. And it's just Chinese trash, right? It's low quality, basic construction and material just made to look like it has flair. But because it's imported and there's not a lot of homegrown furniture companies, like high quality homegrown furniture companies here, um, they get away with it. Importing, depending on how you're importing, it can be expensive. It could also be a business opportunity. For example, in the States, we have companies like Wayfair and all these other companies who have a lot of inventory that gets liquidated yearly. And so you can buy container loads of furniture dirt cheap if you know how to, source that stuff in the States. And you can import that container load of furniture here and have an excellent business selling furniture in Africa, imported furniture. So that's something I've been encouraged to do by several of my business associates here, is to start importing furniture here to Africa. The price, yes, the price does include land. Like I said, but that changes the price, sometimes minimally, sometimes majorly, depending on location of the land and your negotiation skills. But I'll talk about the average price for land in general in a moment. Um, Airbnb is here. It's so you do have an opportunity to come here and invest in real estate, and host it as Airbnbs. Um, it's definitely a brand new thing being done here, so the market is nowhere near saturated like it is in the. There's a lot of short stay lodges, apartments, villas that you can rent by the day, by the week, and by the month. Condos, townhomes, all of that's everywhere. So you always be able to find a nice place to stay for short visits. And on average, you can expect to pay about 12 to 100 bucks a day, depending on location and quality. Um, Import taxes do exist. That's actually where they make a lot of money, but that's another sidebar conversation that we can have about that. Um, because it depends on what you're importing. That's going to determine your level of taxation. Like, for example, importing vehicles to Uganda is extremely expensive because you're going to pay 100% tax on your vehicle. Think about that. That's one of the big drawbacks of being here in Uganda. I don't know why it's that way, but if you they check the blue book value of the vehicle, and you're going to pay 100% of the cost of that vehicle as a custom tax, as duty on the vehicle, import taxes. 100%. So this is why you don't see a lot of American brand cars here. There are some here, like Jeep is here, but of course, Jeep Dodge Chrysler is owned by the Volkswagen Group, which is a European um, company now. So they're able to import Jeeps here quite easily. Toyota is a heavy brand here. Land Rover, Range Rover, Mercedes. Those are big brands here. You see a lot of Jeeps. You see a lot of Fords here, um, but that's about it. Occasionally, you might see um, shit, Chevy pickup or something like that. But it's expensive to import late model vehicles here from the States, so that's why you don't see a lot of American cars here. Gas prices are about half what's in the States right now. On For a gallon of gas, you're gonna pay about $3, about $3 a gallon, and that's with the current inflationary environment. Um, Next slide. All right. So that's a little bit about the housing. I can do a whole nother presentation on housing later with a little more details. Actually, I'm going to do a part two to Uganda, where it's going to be a POV, point of view, presentation. So I've already compiled a lot of video content that I'm working on editing, but I'm actually going to throw on a GoPro on my head, and I'm going to go starting from Entebbe Airport as if I just arrived, take you through that area all the way into Kampala, and then take you through a few days in the life of being here in Kampala. Also take you out to the villages, let you see what that's like, let you see what the suburbs are like, so you can get a first person point of view of exactly what's going on here. And so that's going to take me about a month to complete, with the video capture, with the editing, and also just with having time to move about in between my busy schedule. So I'm gonna be doing that for you guys. That should be, I think, towards the end of June, I should have that ready for you guys, and I think that's gonna be very entertaining, very informative, very insightful for you guys to see. All right, so let's talk about food a little bit. Um, I don't know why. See, look, typo up top, modern and diverse. You could tell I was just duplicating slides and shit. But basically, there's an abundance of staple foods here, fruits, veggies, everything under that umbrella. All locally grown, non-GMO, locally raised meats. Like, you may be and then tomorrow he's gonna be on your plate, right? So you don't have these factory farms here. There are some factory farms here for mass production, but even those don't, like, a lot of the stuff that's used in the states is banned here as far as food. This is why you only see uh, two American fast food chains here, which is Pizza Hut and KFC. And even KFC has to source their chicken locally, so you don't have that genetically modified chicken like you do in the states. It's actual real chicken here. The beef and the meats are all very fresh. Um, and very good. You have a lot of fishing here. Fishing industry is huge. You got Lake Victoria. You got a lot of lakes here in Uganda. A lot of lakes and rivers. So fish is a mainstay of the diet, or main staple of the diet. Then you have what else? Different cuisines here. So the majority of restaurants are local um, and Eurocentric based. Then you have a lot of Indian restaurants, a lot of Asian restaurants, and Middle Eastern restaurants, like the Turkish are big here. So you get a lot of Turkish spots. So then there's actually a few Mexican restaurants here. So that was extremely fucking surprising. And we order from them all the time. You do, like I said, you got KFC and Pizza Hut as the only chains. And so you have a limited variety of eating out or restaurants. If you're all about cooking at home, then of course you can prepare all types of dishes that mimic or make you feel like you're still at home. But the limited variety on dining out options is a business opportunity. Some of the cultures here, you know, the heavier you are, the more status you have. So, like, sometimes I'm with some of my Ugandan employees, and they're heavy, and they're looked at as the boss, right? And so I'm like, damn, okay. So that's a real thing here. But yeah, people eat well here. There are some food insecure areas, of course, just like all societies in this modern world. However, as by large, people have an abundance of food here, so much so that it goes to waste. And this was one of the impetuses that got me into the agribusiness sector. Um, and decided that, you know what, these things are just rotting away here. And what the locals say is there's no market. There's no market for it here because there's so much of it. So you get so much of these agricultural products being produced that they just rot away. And that's an opportunity for business. And that's what I jumped into. I jumped into exporting agricultural products primarily to the U.S. I'm working on the UAE, the Middle East right now, and also Europe, which is the primary market of Uganda as far as exports, agricultural exports, and then Southeast Asia as well. All right, so transportation here. Um, the infamous motorcycle taxis are called bodas or bodas for short. Um, they're motorcycle taxis. They're extremely, extremely cheap. They're fun to ride, but you must be careful. So you got to be careful on which bodas you choose to take. There's there's crime that happens with people being robbed by boda drivers. I don't want to scare you all or put you off away from boda drivers, but I'm just telling you some of the realities. And then there's the occasional accident where people are injured riding these motorcycles, and they are everywhere. You can pull up to an intersection, and the four points of the intersection combined may host 300-400 motorcycles waiting to go through to pass through the intersection. Like it's insane. Oh, all the girls got kicked out. Thank you so much, Liz. I appreciate that. But yeah, boda bodas are dope. I was afraid to get on them because I when I got on the internet, I saw horror stories about boda accidents and stuff like that. But that's just a lot of propaganda. They do happen, but I was terrified to get on bodas for like the first 6 months that I was in Uganda. The first time I got on a boda, I was hooked. I was absolutely hooked because traffic in central Kampala can be horrendous. The roads were not designed for a lot of traffic, and so a lot of the roads, the older roads are really small, and you have developments right to the edge of the road, so that there's no way to really expand some of the roads. And so some of the newer roads are very wide and very big, very smooth, and all that stuff like that. But most of the roads are not. Um, so traffic is crazy here in Kampala. And I was sitting, hey baby, come on. You want the pills? No, it's okay. I didn't even know. I don't know how I missed looking at them. My brain been all over the place. All right, so once I got on bodas for the freaking Western masculine mental issue, is I had to get over sitting on a motorcycle behind a man. I was so weird. It was so strange. It was so foreign. It was so uncomfortable. Like, oh man, I always laugh to myself like when I bring my guys over here, some of my friends over here, if they're not world travelers already, it's gonna be hard to get them to hop on the back of a motorcycle with a man. Now you're not gonna be holding on to this man's waist or anything like that, but it was just so fucking weird for me. So um yeah, and it's definitely a Western homophobic concept that is like ingrained into our psyche that we need to have distance, between masculinity. Like there needs to be distance. Whereas here, you'll see men walking down the street holding hands, and that was something that tripped me out in Zimbabwe. I saw it, but it wasn't as prevalent as it is here in Uganda. Like young men, you know, fully mature men, old men, they walk and hold hands. Like they hold each other like in loving and embracing ways. Like, and it's not weird, it's not foreign, it's not something that's taboo. And that was something that I found very interesting. It was something that, I was a little bit jealous of because I'm like, damn, like we can't even really hug each other in the States, without it having to be a masculine embrace, like one hand, bump shoulders, all right, bro, like that type of thing. So it was just, my black urban mind was like, some people here that you become close with and they grab your hand and they not letting go. You know what I mean? Like it's not like they, because they grab it and your first reaction as a man from America is to kind of pull back, like, yo, what the fuck you doing, right? But they not letting go, right? So they're gonna hold your hand. They're gonna hold it, and it takes some getting used to. But once you let go of it, it's like it's a beautiful thing, man. You feel it's a different closeness, it's a different connection. So, that's just something that I found I wanted to touch on. Now, Uber is here and they provide motorcycle taxis. And there's another company, what you see in the image called Safe Boda. Those are the two safest ways to see 1,000 shillings for every kilometer on average. Now, this was before recent inflation. So let's just say it's about 2,000 shillings per kilometer at this point. What does that mean? That means it's about 75 cents to take a boda, um, you know, to most destinations that gonna need to go to. Um, and it's even cheaper taking Uber and Safe Boda. And Uber and Safe Boda are GPS tracks. The drivers are registered with the company. They have identification, the whole nine. So they're very safe travel options. Um, Uber also does the cars here as well. You can also hire a personal car or a private car, a personal driver. They're relatively inexpensive depending upon what type of vehicle they're providing and depending upon your negotiation skills. So you would pay on the low end, you will cover your own fuel. On the high end, your fuel will be included for most cases. But for example, if you want a high-end private driver, driving like a newer Toyota Land Cruiser or something like that, that's where you're gonna get into the range of $100 a day, you know, with fuel and everything like that included. But on average, you're looking at probably gonna spend about 10, $15 a day to have a personal driver, and you throw in about five, so about $20 a day will cover your fuel and your driver for the day, right? And you're not going to be driving every single day. Most things you need to venture out for can be brought to your home. It's a heavy delivery based economy. Um, or everything is local, like you can walk right outside your house up the road and buy all the fruits and vegetables you need from a roadside vendor. Shops are everywhere. There's not really a job economy here, so everybody's an entrepreneur by default. So everybody's selling everything. So you got shops all up and down every single road selling everything you need. Hardware stores, are all independent. Um, you know, Merchandise shops are mostly all independent. You have a few big chains here, but everybody is grinding. Everybody's an entrepreneur here. So everything you need is right around the corner, or it can be delivered for a little bit of nothing. Um, what else? They have taxis here. They're basically minivans imported from China, old minivans imported from China. In Zimbabwe, they call them combis. Here, they're just called taxis. They're extremely cheap, almost the price of a boda, but you get packed in like a can of sardines with everybody in the taxi vans. So for foreigners, I don't really recommend it. It may not be the safest option depending on what type of person you are, how you carry yourself. But I got friends who've come here from the States and they've thrown themselves head first into the more dicey situations and they behave just like a local Ugandan and they get along just fine. It's all about how you carry yourself and your energy. So, but they're not for the timid, but very, very cheap. Here we are. All right, as far as communication, with primarily cell phone access, you got two main carriers. You got MTN and Airtel. I think T-Mobile international plans work here, but it's kind of expensive to do that. Um, you need to have a cell phone and remember, there's no credit checks here, so you just literally just take your ID and go register for a SIM card, pay a couple dollars, you get a SIM card just like that. They don't run your credit and all that bullshit that they do in the American economy. So everybody here is entitled to cell phones, and it's almost a right here. And you can register as many SIM cards as you want. There's really no monthly plans. There are some monthly plans, but even those are pay as you go. So you're not put on some type of contract. That's that Western pimping that we're used to. But phones do need to be GSM compatible. That stands for Global System for Mobile Communication. Basically used everywhere outside of the Western Hemisphere. Um, Ideally, you want your phone to have two SIM slots so that you can either have two SIMs from both local carriers, or you can have an international SIM and a local SIM. Most people here have phone numbers or phones from both carriers. It's a very, very, very common thing. When somebody wants your number or you're getting somebody else's number, the first thing that's going to be said is MTN or Airtel, because it's expensive to call cross carriers, right? So if I got MTN and I'm calling Airtel, it's more expensive and vice versa. I know you do, sis. I know you do. Don't worry about it. We can talk offline personally, so don't even worry about it. Any questions you got, you'll get the answers to soon enough. Thank you. Much love and respect for tuning in with me. I appreciate you, and I'll see you when I touch down in Chicago. Um, I recommend also that people set up a voice over IP when they come to Africa so that you can communicate with the states cheaply and basically for free. Google Voice is one option. So set up a voice over IP account before you leave the states. No matter where you're going internationally, you want to be able to have a way to call back home. Um, and the internet is the cheapest and easiest way to do that. Um, Social media, interestingly enough, is taxed here. It's another form of revenue. So when you purchase your data plan, because your phone, your minutes and your data plan are separate things that you buy on your phone from your phone carrier. And you do all of this with USSD code. So you type in codes on your phone. It's like you type in star 185 and the hash mark to get access to a menu, and then for Airtel, and then you can pay your bills through your mobile phone. Um, you can buy services and stuff through your mobile phone, and you can buy your data, your data, internet, and mobile minutes through your mobile phone through USSD codes. And so you just type it in, menus pop up. They even have apps so that you can do it through the applications as well. Um, and Africa is huge on fintech, which is financial technology. So a lot of the countries here use what we call mobile money. So you load up money, you have an account with your carrier, and you load up money to that account, and then you spend from that account. And you can send money to other people through your mobile phone, pay all of your stuff, you're pretty much, pay all of your utilities and even school fees and different things like that through your mobile phone. So mobile money is a big thing here. Fintech is a big industry here. Um, and like I said, interestingly enough, there's a small tax that's put on your data plan if you opt for the social media data plan. So every time you buy data or gigabytes or megabytes for your phone, they'll give you the option to purchase the social media bundle. It's just slightly more expensive. A way around that is using a VPN. So you download a VPN app and then you're good to go on social media. So this is another reason why I don't always get inbox messages or even check inbox or even be on social media, because you have to turn on a VPN, and I don't always have a VPN turned on. So that's one of the drawbacks of the communication landscape here, is that social media, because it's a voice for the people and the people's voice is not always welcomely heard here, that voice for the people is sometimes suppressed. And the way they do it is they make social media a luxury to communicate. And they even shut down social media here during the lockdown. Yeah, they actually shut down social media for a few months here during the COVID lockdown. Um, now, as far as mail, it's not there. There is no formal mail system like we have in the States. There's no postmaster general here like we have in the States. Most mail here is done through private companies, um, and you have to purchase a PO box. But you can't just send a letter from here to the States or receive one from the States to here. It doesn't work like that. You have to like actually mail that through a shipping company like FedEx or DHL. DHL is a lot cheaper than FedEx here. FedEx is very expensive here. So as far as mail, if you're going to be staying long term here in Africa, you need to set up paperless billing, and you need to have a system in place to monitor your mail. Like I know now, what we do, we get our mail is scanned by the U.S. Post Office, and we get emails on the letters that we receive. Um, we get an email of the letters actually being scanned, not the open inside mail, but the actual letters, outside letters itself, and we get a daily digest of our mailings, um, and it always pays to have somebody stateside who you can trust to receive mail for you as well, or you can have regular packages sent. Um, like I know some people that they have a bi-weekly or monthly bundle of their mailings in the States shipped over here. And it's relatively, it's expensive for what we consider expensive for receiving mail, but because mail is very light in comparison to most things that are shipped, and it doesn't take up a lot of volume, it's not really, you know unrealistic to have your mail shipped here every 2 weeks. Of course, it would take about a week for it to arrive, but all in all, you would still get your mailings. So moving to Africa semi-permanently or permanently, it does require rearranging of the way that you operate. Okay, so that's just something that should be expected with anybody who's moving internationally anywhere that they go. You should expect to have to rearrange your affairs. Healthcare. Local healthcare is extremely cheap. It is effective, but sometimes it can be limited in terms of depth because they don't have all of the modern technology that we have in the West. Um, One thing I do love about the local healthcare here is that doctors regularly perform house calls. So our doctors come to our house anytime we have a hangnail. Like they're right up the road. They come see us, they bring everything they need, all their equipment, everything like that, and they treat you right there in your living room or your bedroom or whatever room you're in. So I love the house call aspect of healthcare here. And healthcare here again is extremely, extremely cheap. Like you can get x-rays, blood work, and prescription and not spend more than 30 bucks cash, right? You can go stay in the hospital if you need to for a week and be treated and spend, 250 bucks. Like it's crazy. It's absolutely insane in terms of the comparison between Western healthcare costs and African healthcare costs. Like it's crazy. Cancer treatment extremely cheap. I have some of my African buddies who are a little more affluent. They even fly to India to get top-notch care for the same prices they pay here in Africa. So you would go get American quality healthcare in India plus their traditional healthcare techniques and methods for the cost of what you would pay here in Africa. It's insane. Like people do medical holidays regularly to India. It's something that I'm considering myself. Oh, we got a person trying to get in. International healthcare is here and it is available. It's a little more expensive, but much, much cheaper than the States. We're talking at least 60% cheaper than the States, 70% cheaper than the States. The locations are limited. The image that you see is one of the more Western centric healthcare facilities called the surgery. Um, and it, like I said, it's on par with US services, but just much cheaper. Oh yeah, yeah. They would be okay here. I don't know the particulars of the food allergies of the children, um, or the asthma triggers of the children, but they might do better with the more organic diets here. Um, and the air outside of central Kampala, the air is extremely beautiful, clean, and sweet. Of course, with all major metropolitan cities, with all of the traffic and congestion, you do get a little bit of smog. So the air quality is a little bit lower in the central city, but it depends on the time of day, depends on the actual climate itself, how it impacts it. But as soon as you go to the outskirts outside the city, like as soon as you start getting outside of the city, like it just opens up beautifully. All right. What else? Insurance. There are limited crossover options. I think Blue Cross and Blue Shield is accepted at some places. There's a few other American insurance outfits that are accepted here, but travelers insurance is highly encouraged and recommended. So, and they're very, very cheap, affordable travelers insurance options available to you. So, I highly recommend that you get some travelers insurance before you leave your home location and come to Africa. Not that you would need it, but it's like, it's better to have it and not need it and not have it, right? Um, Baxter Montgomery. I'm gonna take note of that. Um, yeah, and there's some local health insurance options as well that are very cheap. Okay. Like I said, I can't go into too much detail about these subjects, otherwise we'd be on this Zoom for 4 or 5 hours. All right, let's talk about nightlife. You got some beautiful people here. When I talk about beautiful, you have some beautiful men and women here. Beautiful people. I'm talking about you may see somebody in the slum of slums here that look like they just need to be on a runway or in somebody's magazine somewhere. Like you wouldn't believe it. Just natural, just beautiful, beautiful. Just beautiful people here. Anyway, Uganda is or Kampala is considered the party capital of East Africa. So you get a lot of day parties, a lot of nightlife events. They're very safe. There's no cutoff point to partying here. Like clubs and party destinations close at 1, 2 a.m. in the states. No, it'll be 6:30, 7 a.m. and you'll hear doom, doom, doom. And one thing about here, there's really not noise complaints. Like, in the States, like we get hushed and we get quieted. People will call the police on you for making too much noise. Because I get it, there's a job economy in the States. People got to be up for work and everything like that. And then you got a lot of assholes in the States. And so um, you can't just be expressive and open and loud and party and enjoy yourself and enjoy events at home. Here, nah, you can get it how you live here. You can enjoy yourself and express yourself how you want here. There's no police cars patrolling the neighborhoods. You might see a few police officers walking up and down the road from time to time. You might see a police vehicle passing through from time to time, but they're not patrolling. They're just going from one destination to the next. So the police are your friends here. They look like you. They hold conversations with you. It's not a militaristic, oppressive police force here. They're literally just here to protect you. That's it. They may even ask you like, "Hey brother, hey brother, help me. I need some water, sir, some water, please, some water." Now, when somebody says, "Ask you for some water," here, they're not asking you for H2O. They're asking you for money. Okay. So when you hear somebody say, "Sir, I'm thirsty. Help me with some water," they're talking about slide them a couple bucks real quick, right? So I got a lot of police friends here because of my connections to the minister, but also because I walk around with a little money in my pocket and I'm always passing out a couple dollars here and there. Like, here, brother, go get you some lunch, get you some water, get you some lunch. They're gonna be they love you. They love you. They're gonna look out for you and be your friend for life. Like it's not even a joke. So I actually I'm very fond of the police here. I've had my run in with them, right? They may want to bribe you here and there at police checks. Sometimes you have, roadside police checks just for security reasons. So they may be like, slide me a little water here and there, and they'll let you go. Not that they stopping you for anything or gonna take you to jail for anything or ticket you or anything like that. They're not gonna do that. But they might just wanna inconvenience you and stop you, ask you a bunch of questions and check out what you're doing and stuff like that. But most of the times you get a brother some or the sister some lunch money or some something to get them a snack on or something cool to drink on that hot day. You ain't got to worry about nothing ever again. So that just is what it is. It's the culture here. All right. But as far as the partying and the nightlife, plenty of nightlife destinations, upscale clubs. It's just dope here, and they party and dance. There's no wallflowers here. There's some wallflowers here, but you're not gonna go to a party place and post up on the wall and watch everybody do their thing or sit in your seat and rock back and forth with your drink in there and all that goofy stuff. You're gonna get on the dance floor, or they're gonna come to where you sitting at, and y'all gonna dance right there, right? So these people do not play about enjoying themselves and their festivities. I can tell you that for sure. How much water? Yeah, like I said, about $1, $2, and you got a friend for life. so anyway, just beautiful people all the way around. All right, shopping in stores in general. You have a lot of shopping centers, or what we will call small shopping centers, or what are they called in the states? Strip malls. A lot of strip malls, a lot of shopping centers, stuff like that. Roadside vendors are everywhere. I can't stress that enough. Informal markets are everywhere. And then you have malls, like such as Acacia Mall. Acacia Mall is one of the, you know, modern contemporary malls here. It's extremely beautiful. It's a destination for the upscale mall or the modern malls here are destination hot spots for tourists and foreigners. There's a lot of stuff built up around the malls, and the areas are extremely safe. There's a lot of security in those areas. Um, so Acacia Mall is one destination we would definitely be frequenting if you came here. Beautiful restaurants, delicious food, um, and you know you can find the normal things you will find in any mall in America at these locations. Like I said, the informal markets are everywhere, and this is where you go to haggle and bargain and negotiate and get the cheapest prices for the stuff you want. Um, Everybody's hustling all the time. You have app-based malls or vendors such as Jumia or Glovo. Jumia is the juggernaut here. They're in a few different countries in Africa, and it's basically order from the app almost anything you can imagine, and it's going to be dropped off to your house within an hour. Glovo, pretty much the same thing, but they are more supermarket and food based right now. Whereas Jumia, you can order stuff from abroad internationally, and once it arrives in Uganda, it's going to be dropped off at your door. So you can get almost anything through Jumia. China, the U.S., wherever stuff is coming from, it can come through Jumia. You have a lot of individual merchants, individual entrepreneurs. You know, one man shops, one man professionals, one man tradesmen. You know, everybody's here is surviving. So you got plumbers and welders and glazers and everybody you can think of. You know, come to your house and mechanics come right to your house and fix whatever they need to fix. You know what I mean? Or go to their shops and have it. You can have things like our gym equipment. We have a pretty. We've upgraded it even since my last post about it, but we have a pretty solid gym here in our house, and all of the equipment and everything was fabricated here, right? So you can get almost anything you want mimicked from America and built and fabricated here. Um, you can also get stuff shipped in, but that can be costly depending on weight and size. Um, there are a lot of third-party shippers who do that shipping, and then also Amazon ships some things to Uganda. DHL ships here, and FedEx ships here. The best thing to do though is to have a friend who's into importing and exporting. Yeah, kind of like Amazon, pretty much. Yep, pretty much. But yeah, the best thing to do is have somebody who's importing things by container loads like myself, and then you can put anything you want in that container and have it brought over. You just have to pay your duty tax on it coming into the country if it's one of the applicable taxable items. Um, but there are a lot of third party shippers who will ship here relatively inexpensively. Tourism is one of the primary industries here in Uganda. Uganda actually lags behind some of the other destinations for tourism in Africa. And so what that means is the sector is still growing. Um, there's a low influx of tourists here, so that means that you can literally have set up a private safari tour for you and your family and friends and be the only people at a luxury lodge, on a luxury safari trip, um, at a private, villa. Like you can have a private experience that you can. It's not like that rushed shit that people are used to in the States. Excuse my language, guys, for cursing on this presentation, but I do have a potty mouth. Um, but yeah, you can actually enjoy your tours and safaris here in Uganda without the rush and hustle and bustle of what we're used to doing in the States, because everything is all about get them in, get them out, get them in, and get them out in the States, and you don't really get to revel and relish in the experience like you do here in Uganda. So um, there's a lot of different types of tours that you can do here: safari tours, gorilla tours, mountain tours, adventure, eco, urban, culture, village, um, business investment tours is really what my Trojan horse is. Agricultural tours, biking tours, and many, many more. Um, the business investment, that's the reason I even got into tourism here is because I want to bring people here to invest. You know, I'm very upfront about that. Um, Let me let this girl back in. I'm very upfront about why I want people to come here. I want you to come here and bring your American dollars. because your spending power is anywhere from uh, double to triple and quadruple depending on what you're buying and how you negotiate it. So your money goes a long way. That USD goes a long, long way here. You can live like royalty here for whatever you're earning in the States right now. We have two housekeepers. We have a private chef. We have drivers. We have armed security, private security. I have soldiers that guard me whenever I want them to, from the military. Um, yeah, it's, I mean, I don't do anything laborious here anymore. Nothing. Absolutely nothing unless I choose to. Like, you don't have to leave home. I don't do anything. Yes, you can work remotely for a US company here and live like royalty. Do you hear me? Like, I'm telling you a fact. Your money will go a long way here. Big, beautiful house, huge yard, beautiful location, and a staff that caters to all of your needs. My wife, like, we have massage therapists that come to our house. Um, your nail and beauty technicians and your beauticians will come to your house. Do it, like, anything you want done can they're house calling. They're coming to your house, or you can go to the location. It's your choice, but it's all still cheap. So this is, and you may say, well, that's bougie, that's this, that, and the other, but it's really not. You're employing people who need jobs. There's no formal job economy here. These people need work, and they want to work. Africans are. You think the stereotype is that Mexicans work hard? Yeah, come to Africa. Come to Africa. These people work hard for nothing almost. So you come here and you employ these people, you changing lives, man. You putting their kids through school. These people want to work. So the hospitality industry is huge here and in high demand. All right, so let me keep going. All right, so that's me and the staff at my little supermarket. Um, Green Lion. I have a company called Green Lion Consulting in Zimbabwe. I have a cannabis company in Zimbabwe called Canazim Farms. And I brought that Green Lion branding here to Uganda in the form of Green Lion Farms. And so that's what you see is the supermarket here. I actually started this place simply to give jobs to some of my friends that I met here that I was like trying to figure out a way to support them without just constantly shelling out cash to them. So I was like, you know what? Let me start a business. Actually, I didn't even intend to come to Uganda and do business. I got into the agricultural sector because I wanted to start a company and give jobs to the security guards who were working at that apartment, um, that luxury condo that we were staying at. Um, these guys were coming to work barefoot with no shoes, walking, 4 or 5 miles to get to work through mud and in the rain and outside, battling mosquitoes all night long and all kind of crazy stuff. And so I was like, I got to help these brothers. And so I started talking with them and asking them, how do you like what do people do here to make money? Like what are the biggest, you know, uh business opportunities, or what's the economy here for people who want to start something small so that they could support themselves? And they started introducing me to the agricultural sector here. And so that's when I started learning about the abundance of products here. And I've always been into bees and honey because I was doing that in Zim, but I was always into that in the States as well because bees are the most important creatures on earth. I've always had a lot of reverence for them. And so I started asking about honey. And when they told me the prices and the abundance of honey from the villages, and I researched the quality of Ugandan honey, it blew me away. Absolutely blew me away. I'll give you guys some insight here into my business. I buy thousands of kilos of honey at a time, thousands. I go directly to the villages myself and I meet with the people, the elders there, and the tribes there, and I work out deals with them to support them. I buy all of their inventory. I pay medical expenses. I pay school fees. I build houses for them. So I break bread with the people. I'm not a parasite. And there's no market for their products here because everybody has them. There's an abundance of them. They're everywhere. So there's very minimal profit they make off selling these things themselves. So I provide them with a lot of benefits with the business model that I have. But to give you an example, all right, I shouldn't be saying this because this is, part of my competitive advantage, but I got to inspire you guys. So for a kilo of honey, right, a kg of honey, I'll go to the village and I'll end up paying like $3 and 20 states, and I'm retailing every kg for about $40 in the states. Think about that. I'm paying $3 a kg, wholesaling it for 20 to 25, and retailing it for 40 in the states. Actually, I'm working on branching Green Lion out, and I would love to talk to you about that. So, for example, I go buy a metric ton of honey, which is 2,200 pounds of U.S. honey, 2,200 pounds of honey. So I'll go buy a metric ton of honey for about 3,000 US dollars, right? So I'm retailing that in the States anywhere from 25,000, I mean, wholesaling anywhere that from 20,000 to 25,000. And I'm retailing that for about 35 to $40,000 per metric ton in the States. I'm paying three. Now, the um, the expenses come into place. Hey, Kobe. Oh, we rescue pets as well. So we rescued a cat from Zimbabwe and brought her here to Uganda with us. And we rescued two dogs, two puppies here in Uganda. And we bought our Pomeranian when we were in Moscow. Um, but anyway, as far as shipping expenses, um, the lockdown and COVID situation really skewed shipping and logistics costs dramatically. It used to cost for me to ship about 5 metric tons to the States used to cost about 6 grand. Now it's upward towards like 20 grand to ship that same amount. But prices have come back down, so now it's more like about 15,000. But the port crisis in the States and the COVID lockdown really messed up the shipping industry. So good thing that I have huge profit margins, and so I'm able to this little dude is feisty. I'm able to absorb the shipping costs because my profit margins are so incredible, right? My profit margins allow me to absorb all the expenses and overhead involved with sourcing, logistics, exporting, and I'm going to get into how you're able to bypass customs and duty taxes by shipping to the States. Dude, what is wrong with you? He does this though. All right, now you see that guy picture right there? This guy is the former Attorney General, Minister of Finance, and Minister of Labor. This is my business partner and brother slash uncle here in Uganda. He's the one who um, gave me the land in the Ankoli cows and helped me get all of my exporting licenses expedited, helped me get my company qualified to do business here in Uganda and internationally. It was just a phone call away. Now I know all of the ministers of government here, Minister of Agriculture. I was just with the Minister of Foreign Affairs, who is the one who's bringing me into the Akon City project. Um, so I have a very unique network here. I'm literally at the top of the food chain as far as networking abilities and um, you know, access to that crowd of people here. Um, and it's all thanks to this guy right here. This guy's an amazing guy. This is the guy who, when I tell people, like, one of my business partner here has 11 wives and 9 girlfriends. This is the dude right here. So anyway, as far as business entities here, it's similar to the states. You can set up a sole proprietorship. And we'll talk about the polygamy. Like it's a culture here. It's not like in the states where it's like this exotic thing, right? Here it's a culture. This is tradition. But it's not like it's everybody that does it. It's just certain, tribes and groups of people that do it. But it's normal here. You can set up partnerships. You can set up private companies, public companies, and so basically, a LTD, limited company, is the same thing as a LLC in the states, right? So I got LTD companies. I got limited companies. A note about the law. The legal system in Uganda is based on common law and customary law. So when you're trying to purchase things and do things, you may have to get permission, like purchase land and build things and stuff like that. You might have to get permission from the regional tribal or local tribal elders or the tribe itself to do these types of things. Um, so it's a combination of statutory law, common law, customary law, and different doctrines of equity. So you have to really have some legal counsel on your side here when you're purchasing homes and purchasing property or building homes. You have to have a thorough and savvy legal representative here in Uganda. So I highly encourage you all to consider when you come over here meeting with this gentleman here. He's very open. He's very free. He's very giving. He loves me to death, and I'm actually bringing. I was supposed to bring him to the states over the winter, but he had an accident and broke his leg, so he's just now recovering from that. So that's why I didn't come to the states this winter, and I didn't bring him with me. But he's interested in doing business in the states, and just like I brought my Zimbabwean wealthy friend to the states, and he's now invested in the cannabis industry in the states. I took him on a cross country tour. Um, that's another conversation I'll share when we talk about Zimbabwe. They always fight me. Hey, cool out. They just playing. But yeah. So he'll be coming to the states with me. So when he does come, I'll make note of it on my social media, and I'll let you guys tap in if you want to link with us. We're likely gonna hit the major cities. And do another cross country tour like I did with hey baby girl, and did with my Zimbabwean counterpart. So you'll get to meet this guy and his son, one of his sons. Yes, I'm definitely coming to Texas. He's going to be Dallas or Houston, but you can meet his son. Well, one of his sons is coming to the states on some Hakeem from Coming to America stuff, and so I'm looking for people to help sponsor him, and uh, I'm gonna leave him in the states for a little while. So I've been working through my network to get him set up in the states. So if you're interested in becoming close to this family, and close to these people, and you can be vetted as a good option for one of the sons to come to the states and be associated with, then I can arrange that type of thing. So these are very good people, man. Like it's not, the culture is not like in the states where everybody's apprehensive of each other. Of course, it's not just like happy go lucky, but it's a little more trusting when you come recommended through somebody else. So it's not as cutthroat. It's cutthroat here. Don't get it twisted. It's not a utopia, but it's not that type of cutthroat as it is in the states. Okay. Okay, bro. Um, and customary law here, or tribal law, is takes precedent as long as it doesn't conflict with statutory law. All right, now as far as registering a business here, you're going to register that business through the URSB, which is Uganda Registration Services Bureau. One of Rukutana's sons works there, so all of my business registration stuff gets expedited. Like, people think I'm some big shot foreigner when I walk in, and you see hundreds of people in line waiting hours all day just to be seen, and I walk straight in and go to the back offices. 3, 4 employees come in there, sit down, ask us what we need, get everything done, boom, knock it out the same day, and we out of there. Right? So I get companies registered, everything approved, all in the same day. And it's because of my people. The son that actually works at the URSB is a student of mine in Forex, right? So tech business is burgeoning and huge here. If you're into technology, come here, bring it here. You will make a lot of money. So in order to register a business here, you have to do a business name search, just general stuff like in America. Reserve the business name, obtain a certificate of incorporation, get your investment license if it's applicable. You must obtain a TIN number, which is basically your social security number. It's a tax ID number. You have to get a trading license. And depending on other what industry you're in, like you have to have a tourism license. You might need licenses for mining and other industries like that. Cannabis is here too as well. And you must register with the National Social Security Fund if you're formally paying employees salaries. And then you have to have a company stamp or a company seal that you stamp on all documents. Like it feels very official too. Like I got company stamps and shit. I just be like boom, boom, boom. Makes you feel like a big wig, right? So, um, what else? As far as taxation, this image should actually say URA, not URSB. I didn't input the right image here. But the Uganda Revenue Authority is the taxing body similar to the IRS. Um, Now, these are generalized notes and figures. Do your research, seek legal counsel, seek an accountant to get the precise information about taxation here. But in general, residents are taxed on, like Ugandans or residents of Uganda are taxed on their worldwide income that's reported. Everything here is self-reporting. So you self-report your income. There's not a mandate like it is in the States, right? Um, Non-resident persons are only taxed on the income that you derive from your sources here in Uganda. Now, as far as income tax, there's three primary areas of income tax: business income, employment income, and property income. As far as employment income, we're talking about government jobs, we're talking about big companies. When it comes down to small companies, medium sized companies, those employees don't get taxed on their earnings, right? So most and the huge part of the economy here is informal. So 70-80% of people here aren't paying taxes on their income. Okay. If you're a business owner, you definitely are going to pay taxes on your income, and it depends upon which income bracket you fall in. It can range anywhere from 10 to 20 to 30% on your income tax. There's a lot of deductions that you can receive depending on what type of business you're in, such as agricultural business and manufacturing and stuff like that. There are free trade zones where if your business has its main headquarters or office headquarters in that area, then your company will pay no taxes at all. Um, so that's an advantage. It's kind of like some of those economic empowerment zones that we have in the states. So it's highly encouraged that you get into agriculture, um, production, manufacturing. Those industries pay virtually no taxes on their revenue. Um, we chose the business route. We choose the business route to go. It protects you from personal liability, of course, and it puts you into different social circles and networking circles here in Uganda. And it provides a lot of benefits for you to operate here. For example, when we talk about land ownership, a foreigner cannot own land outright here. You can lease the land for 100 years, 200 years, 300 years. I mean, we're talking about generationally. You can lease the land, but you can't own it as a foreigner. You will never own land as a foreigner unless you own a company in Uganda or some type of trust in Uganda. Because that entity is a domestic entity. So that entity is allowed to have personhood. That personhood gives it the right to own property and land in Uganda. So you can't, as an individual, you own land, but your entities can own land here. This is how I'm able to own land here in Uganda. All right. And so I'm going to talk about structuring your entities briefly in an upcoming slide. Um, but as far as business taxation, it's based upon gross income and then you get a lot of deductions, like I mentioned before, and the taxation rate is up to 30%. Non-resident or foreign companies can add up to 15% on that taxation. So it can be up to 45% taxation, but of course nobody's paying that type of taxation. There's so many deductions and so many loopholes that, taxes are not even a significant impediment to business here. Not at all. Um, Real estate taxes are based on the market value of the property, or if you are a landlord and you're renting, it's based upon your yearly gross rent. that you're bringing in. So whatever your yearly gross rents are, that your revenue from renting properties out, then that's going to determine your tax rate. And it's typically about 1% of companies can expect to pay about 0 to 12% on their real estate taxes. All right, now opportunities for investment that exist here. I want to focus on agriculture because it's the industry with the lowest barrier of entry. Tourism is too, but agriculture is the industry with the lowest barrier of entry in terms of investment capital and compliance obligations. Um, you can get into, I'll share a document with you guys that has like 100, 200 different agricultural based businesses that you can get into for very, 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 very inexpensive investment costs. Um, yeah, it's like it cost me like $100 to register, no, $200 to register my company, and then all of my licenses and everything like that was like another 200, 300 bucks. Um, and then after that, I just went to work. So like $500, your company is set up and good to go, and it's so cheap to buy natural resources here that it's almost criminal. It's almost criminal. So vanilla, the vanilla industry. So you got honey, you got soursop, avocado. I'm just mentioning the more popular ones. Chili peppers. Some of the hot sauce companies in the states that are well known, huge brands. They source their chilies from Zimbabwe and Uganda. Um, you got hibiscus, all types of teas. Like Africa's big on tea. Um, where there's butterfly pea, hibiscus, dried fruits, all that type of stuff. Moringa, neem. Um, Let me separate these guys. Hey, Kobe, leave Juju alone. Juju, it's okay, baby. Come on, Kobe, go, go, go sit. You okay, baby? Come over here. Vanilla. Now, the vanilla in particular, the honey in particular, the shea butter in particular. The vanilla is grade AAA. It's the number two quality vanilla on earth. Ben and Jerry's sources their vanilla directly from Uganda. Juju, be nice, be cool. Kobe, go, go sit. So vanilla is extremely valuable. It's so valuable here. Juju, he wants to play. Hey, 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 hey. No. Hey Maya, come get Kobe. The vanilla is so prized and so valuable here that the farms are guarded by armed soldiers. Sorry about that. No, it's okay. He just wants to play with Juju. I'm still doing my presentation. Yeah, so vanilla is extremely valuable. You know, I could give you the prices on it, but let's just say similar markups to the honey prices. We're looking at hundreds and hundreds of percent of markup value. Um, but it's so powerful, it's so strong, it's so delicious. Like I can't even explain it to you how amazing the vanilla is here. Shea butter, very similar. You have slightly lower profit margins on shea butter because of what is sold for stateside, but Uganda has one of the most unique and luxurious qualities of Nilotic. Nilotic, is that how you say it? Nilotic shea butter. Um, it's in the top three quality shea butters in the world. Um, the shade tree is a guarded and protected tree here because they were burning it down using it for firewood, which is insane. And actually, one of my Facebook friends, she's going to go buy an acre of land right now in Gulu in the north of Uganda that's full of shea nut trees. So here they eat shea butter, just like we use cow's butter or cow milk butter in the States. They use shea butter here because it's a butter. Us in the States, we know it as putting it on our skin. They eat it here, and it actually has a very delicious flavor to it. It's unique. So shea butter is used as actual butter here. You know, it's not just a cosmetic like we use it in the States. So um, I got about shit 50 kgs downstairs right now. I keep stashes of honey, wax, pure bees wax, shea butter, vanilla. I keep stashes tucked away. Um, but yeah, like for example, with chia seeds, right? You can get a truckload, a semi truckload of a container load of chia seeds for like 1,500 bucks because there's no market for it here. You can sell that same shipping container full of chia seeds to a product manufacturer that makes cosmetics in the States for ungodly amounts of money. That whole container will go for about $35,000 of chia seeds. And you paying like 1,500 to 2,500 for a whole container load here, right? So it's just crazy. I suggest that you all, uh, if you guys want a sidebar video session about getting into the agricultural business in general, then we can have that later. Now, as far as exporting or international trade, Uganda is an agribusiness powerhouse. I suggest that you get into that because it's a low investment, high return industry. Um, you know, honey is in everything. Chia seeds are used in quite a bit of things. These inputs are huge natural resource ingredients. Like for example, Burt's Bees, right? You know the company Burt's Bees. You know their shit is their stuff. Their products are expensive in the States. Do you know that they get their wax from Africa for free? Bet you didn't know that, did you? Burt's Bees. Here's what they do. They come in and they set up um, uh, community building projects where they do, you know, they spend money to build up and support the communities where they get the wax from, but they get the wax for free because most people here only use beeswax to make candles. They don't really use it very much for cosmetics. Um, and most cosmetics are imported into Africa, not produced in Africa, right? Most of them. So Burt's Bees, this multi-billion-dollar international company, is getting their wax from different countries in Africa for free. And the quality of the beeswax is incredible. And it's actually very expensive stateside to get pure African beeswax, and I have a lot of it. Um, so anyway, agribusiness is the way to go if you want to start making money immediately in Uganda and you want to see amazing profit margins. Exporting it to the EU, to the Americas, to the Middle East, and to Asia will make you a very, very rich foreigner in Africa. Um, Now, um, I already talked about the limited local markets. These things just go to waste here. um, Immense international demand for these products, product manufacturers, individuals, all types of people. 300 to 1,000% margins on some of these products. Now they have a trade arrangement and trade deal with the East African community does with the United States. So any company that's 50% or more owned by a Ugandan can qualify for the AGOA trade agreement deal. This trade agreement deal allows you to avoid customs and duty taxes on all your good agricultural products, over 3,000 agricultural products and textile products um, that are shipped to America. You won't pay any taxes on it. Think about that. Think about that. So this also helped me absorb the increase in shipping costs due to the port um, crisis and the COVID lockdown. So to export, you're going to need an export license, a certified facility here in Uganda. You need a freight forwarding company or export um, consultant firm or some type of export professionals to handle all of your exporting documentation to make sure all the I's are dotted and T's are crossed because you do not want to have your goods held up in some port because one document is improper or missing. It can ruin your business. Um, you definitely going to need a shipper. I use MSC, Mediterranean Shipping Company. The port that I ship out of by sea is in Kenya, Mombasa. Um, the port that I ship out of by air is in Tebe Airport. Air, of course, is more expensive, but it's very timely. Whereas by sea, on average, it takes about 51, 55 days for my products to reach the east coast of America, namely the port of Wilmington. Is where primarily because I have partners in North Carolina and uh, also ports in Florida and ports in the Gulf are easily accessible, but it's just cheaper to go into Virginia, the Virginia area and the North Carolina area. You have to have customs clearance on your products. So that's why you need a customs broker stateside. And you have to have an FDA approved facility for agricultural or food based products that are intended for human consumption. Um, I avoided having the FDA having to fly in an FDA inspector to inspect my facilities here in Uganda. The way I avoided that is I don't send my items pre-packaged. This is why I don't send small uh, quantities of items to the states when people request it. Is because my facility I would have to pay to fly in an FDA inspector, cover all of their costs, which are insane for government people, for them to come and inspect my facility. So I avoid that by shipping in bulk. What I do is I ship in bulk quantities that are intended to be sold to uh, product manufacturers who are going to do value addition stateside. So what I did was I went ahead and became the importer in the states as well. So I own an import company in the states, so I control the entire vertical. I even have some farming co-ops. I'm working on some pilot projects with aloe vera, lemongrass, um, bee farming, and some other items, moringa, namely. So I'm controlling everything from seed to sale, right? So I control the export pricing. I control the importing to the states. And so I receive it as a product manufacturer or value addition company stateside, and then I break it down stateside. Now, I have warehouses stateside, but primarily my business model is very streamlined and it's very simple. Once my products hit the shores, it goes straight to a co-packer. That co-packer will then distribute it to the product manufacturers that purchase from me in bulk. Right now, I'm working on getting my retail product lines developed. I've been working on that for about 18 months, and I'm gonna have several brands of retail products based upon what I'm already shipping, and those are gonna be primarily distributed online. And I've been working with some of my network stateside to get some local offline distribution in place as well. But right now, I've just been focusing on increasing the company's volume on both export and import side. And so, what enabled me to do that is by shipping in bulk to product manufacturers. Because once you get into the international trade game, you're getting into a 7, 8, 9 figure industry per company. Like as a small company, once I hit 8 figures, I'm still going to be considered a small company in terms of international trade. But when you get profit margins like I do, just having a 7 and 8 figure company, puts me in multimillionaire status within 2 years of reaching those milestones. Um, and it also enables me to have a very affluent life here in Uganda and an affluent future in Uganda, and also stateside as well, because like I said, I have revenue from both companies on both sides of the earth. So you also need to have U.S. freight and logistics in place. All right. Now, as far as business structuring and asset protection or asset structuring, let me just say I'm not an expert. This is not advice. Seek appropriate counsel. This is my personal opinions. So don't take this shit and run with it. Something happened and then say it's my fault, because it's not. I'm very big on legal asset protection strategies that comply with all the laws. Okay, I'm not trying to tell you to avoid the IRS or anything like that. I'm just telling you, use the law as it's on the books. And once you get into these things, you'll find that there's a lot of ways to use the laws in your favor to protect your assets, whether liquid or other types of assets. Okay? this is where the whole Panama Papers and stuff come in. And if you don't know anything about that, look up the Panama Papers. You know, shell companies, trust, offshore banking, da 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 da. I'm into that stuff now. And actually, trading forex is what got me into offshore companies and offshore banking. Okay. All right. So basically, there's a multitude of ways you can structure your asset holdings to get the best benefits that you desire. One may consider the following scenario. Now, here in Uganda, this is the scenario I'm talking about. No problem. Get some rest. It's morning time for me. Um, basically, the way it could possibly work here in Uganda is you set up a company and do a 50-50 partnership with a local Ugandan. This way, you avoid the $100,000 investment license. Okay. Um, and there are some mechanisms that you can put in place that assures your equity and controlling interest in the company, also gives you full and 100% authority over all company decisions and company related matters. Okay, so basically, you would just have a local as a partner, and they would technically have no control over the enterprise at all. This is a fact. Okay, I'm living proof of it. Now, yeah, this is definitely being recorded, and it'll be posted when it's done rendering and all that stuff like that. So anyway, you do a 50-50 split. This is the last slide, guys. So just hang in there for about 5 more minutes. This is the last slide, but you do a 50-50 split with a local. What you want to do is you want to set up a trust. That trust is going to be offshore from the United States or locally here in Uganda. And you're going to have a LLC um, that is managed by the trust, running and calling the shots for your African assets. Okay, and so that's why this way it keeps everything out of your name, but you have controlling interest or you have full benefits as a beneficiary of the trust. Okay, but your entities are offshore and out of the jurisdiction of the United States, so you avoid all the extra taxation and all of the legal liabilities that will come with a U.S. domestic corporation or domestic trust. Um, And so this stuff is not as complicated as you think it is. If you've registered an LLC in the States, then you can have these entities set up and registered as well. It just requires your basic yearly administrative costs and stuff like that. But all in all, it puts you into the international trade business, international banking business, and you become an international player just with a series of documents filed either in the Caribbean or some other destination that provides, asset sheltering mechanisms such as trusts and international business corporations, IBCs. Okay. Like I said, there's contracts in place that are going to protect you from any potential liabilities that you would have with having a 50-50 partnership with a Ugandan local. Okay, so just trust me. I can't really talk in detail about it on this thing here, but it would have to be a private conversation that I would have with you and share with you exactly how to get this done. I have the top lawyers in Uganda on my side as my personal friends, and they can get you set up very easily here. I've already facilitated two people coming to Uganda. One has a tea farm and a tea company where he's exporting tea around the world, and another is getting into the agricultural business with moringa and things like that with me, and they already have companies set up and established, and they're full 100% in control of the entity, but they're also lifting up a local Uganda by making them a partner and giving them a job, and also benefiting from the advantages of having a Ugandan as a partner. Okay. So I just want to thank you guys. I know I threw a lot of information at you. I know it's very high level information. Some of this requires more depth and more conversation, but we can talk about that on another session. So hop on my Facebook, send me an inbox, make a post on my page, hop in the comment section on one of my posts talking about Africa, and tell me the things that you want more detail about, more information about, and I can share that. I can set up a session to share that stuff with you, whether it's private 101 or it's in a group setting. Now, here's one thing I do want to emphasize. I am establishing a company that facilitates all of this for you. So whether you just want to a few months or you want to establish residence here, you want to establish businesses here, you want to establish foundations here, I'm setting up a company that literally takes you and holds you by the hand and helps you get every single thing done and help you get it all put in place legally. Right now, in partnership with my wife, she works for the U.S. Embassy. She does contracting with them most of the year, and she's a security specialist with the U.S. Embassy. So we have high level contacts at the U.S. Embassy. They actually got me out of a situation here that I probably would have been put in jail for here in Uganda. I had somebody stealing from me and trying to disrupt one of my businesses, and he came to my home disrespecting me, so I had to put the flu flops on him, and they had to. I had my people come from the embassy, and my lawyers from the minister came, and when they came, they had the whole entire police force shook. Like now, everybody like is almost bowing to me when they see me. So, um, that's it. But that's another conversation for another time. But yeah, I'm setting up an entity and a company. Look forward to the next time I schedule the next upcoming sessions, the point of view video session that I share with everybody, and then also more, intellectual sessions, uh, informational sessions like this one. Okay. All right, guys. Take care. Much love to y'all. I appreciate y'all sitting on this thing with me. Let's tap in on Facebook. If you want to shoot me your number, make sure you got WhatsApp downloaded and we can communicate that way as well. And I do have a private website where I teach Forex trading and investing. And I'm also going to be teaching investing in Africa and also international investing in general on that website. It's called the90daytrader.com, the90daytrader, the90daytrader.com. I give away free Forex training and also one of my private free Forex strategies that makes me money on a regular basis. And I'm doing very, very well with it. My wife doesn't have to work. She only works because she wants to. She's doing six figures from her trading. So if any, and this is the primary source of income that has allowed us to be in Africa. So go sign up for the site. It's free. It's just like Facebook. I made it just like Facebook with groups and pages, and it just has courses and a news feed and your own private profile, inboxing, and everything just like Facebook. All right. So take care. Thanks a lot. I appreciate you guys. I look forward to politicking more. And don't be a stranger. Reach out to me. Even if I don't get back to you right away, it's because my inbox is crazy and I don't always have my VPN on and I'm a busy guy. But just pester me. I'm one of those people that you have to pester because I'm always pulled in 1,000 different directions. So make sure you get my attention. Pester me. Don't feel like, oh, I ain't finna keep hitting him up. Don't operate that way with me. Keep hitting me up and I'm gonna get back to you, okay? Take care. Definitely, we're gonna talk, Madame. We're definitely gonna build an Africa together. You are already a piece on my chessboard. You're key to it. Your access to all of these countries and just how you operate is so crucial and pivotal to this whole merging of Black American and African cultures and lifestyles that I'm committed to. I'm really committed to bridging our cultures and our peoples, and I want to bring a lot of us over here, and of course, a lot of them from here want to come over there. So I have a lot of resources. I have huge networks in the states. Um, and you're gonna see when I decide to really stop being humble and really put myself out there, you're gonna see just how many famous and influential people are my friends and are associates of mine who I've met over the years and befriended. And truth be told, right now, if I wanted to be all over the internet and all over your TV, I could with a couple phone calls. That's just not my thing, right? Because I still have a lot of ties to people who don't like attention. So I don't want to bring attention to them. And because of my history and background, I don't like bringing attention to everything that I do. But there's gonna come a point in time where I really do put myself out there and put my efforts out there, and then everybody's gonna be like, "Oh man, look at what this guy's doing." But really, I've been doing it for a long time. I'm just really low key with a lot of stuff. Social media is pretty much all you're gonna get from me for a while until I'm ready. But let's politic, let's build. Take care. I appreciate you guys. Enjoy the rest of y'all evenings. Peace. This will be uploaded on YouTube later once everything is done rendering and processing. All right. Take care, guys. The YouTube is the 90 Day Trader. I'll make sure the links and everything is posted on my Facebook, and message me to make sure that I get the information to you directly if you want it. Okay. What is how do you say it? Asante? Oh, there's a phrase. that this in Swahili that says that's about thank you or I appreciate you. But here I'm gonna say banange, banange. I appreciate you guys. All right. And then when you want to say peace or uh, uh, or see you next time or something like that, when you're in Uganda, just say kale, kale. It's spelled like kale, like the vegetable kale, but just say kale, kale. And then when you're happy about something, just say banange. When you're thankful about something, say banange. Yeah. Okay. All right, guys. Peace. I'm out of here.